You want to take the sound?
What page you on?
You
got sound? We on it. We got sound.
Huh? You got sound? On the main page?
Yes, sir.
All right, we good. You ready? All right, Shalom. We are the Hebrew Israelites. All right. We're here to prophesy the downfall of the wicked kingdom called America. And today we're celebrating what you would call the Purim. All right, going back to the 14th of this month. But we're just holding the feast today with the Akim of Lion's Den. But before we do anything, we want to give praise to the Most High and His Son in the ancient Hebrew, called the Paleo Hebrew, which means ancient Hebrew, or Lashawan Kodash, the holy tongue. So they want to say Ka, Alayim, La, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Ha, Kodash, Mama. All right, double honor to the elder apostles, the GMS, and the elders, and shalom to you, Akim, and Akwatim, your children that believe in sincerity and truth around the four corners of the earth. I think the first scripture we're going to start off with to get the basis of the story, so we can get to the groove of the story, would be, let's start off with Esther Chapter 1. All right, but the point is, we want to get to Esther Chapter 9 because that tells us the basic layout of the Purim. All right, and the word Purim comes from the root word in Hebrew, pawar. All right, pa'awar, pawarium, which means lots. All right, like just like you'll cast a lot or roll a dice, or you'll break something off and you'll cast lots with it. But the thing is, Esau cast a lot, and then you had Yahweh that cast a lot too. You see that? So the same thing is happening today, to where Esau is aiming towards what? Rushing in like a flood to bring down or to depopulate the earth. All right, and also to bring more destruction to the children of Israel. And Esau is trying to get their birthright back. All right, because the story of Purim is a beautiful story of how Esau was casting lots and hoping to hang us in the gallows, meaning kill us and destroy us. But the Lord showed His power, how He can show His strength and weakness in delivering us at the last minute. All right, and He said today, what is Purim is supposed to be a joyous moment, to where you rejoice over the fact that the Lord delivered us and how He's going to deliver us in these last days. All right, so let's get into it. Go ahead, brother.
This is Isaiah 59:19. It says, "So shall they fear the name of the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai from the west, and His glory from the rising of the sun. When the enemy shall come in like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, shall lift up a standard against him."
That's right. So who's the enemy? Esau. And you can read that in Deuteronomy chapter 28, which speaks about the enemy being these damn heathens. All right, and their standard is going to be what? The eagle. All right, but the Lord said in these last days, at the last moment, He's going to raise up a standard against these heathens and saying, "Hey, touch not my anointed." All right, this is mine right here. You can't touch them. And the same thing the Lord did during the time of Esther, where He raised up this woman, and we were in a low condition during the time of the Medo-Persian Empire. The Lord used this woman and a brother named Mordecai to deliver the children of Israel through their prayers, man. All right. So it shows how the Lord could deliver us out of low condition, even when it seems like we don't have any help. All right. And it pays homage to what's that? Sirach chapter 2. Look into the ways of old and see. I always like to bring that scripture out here. Yeah. Because that's what we're doing. We're looking into the ways of old to see the type of faith we need to have in these last days.
Come on, Jordan. I got it.
Right.
All right, this is the book of Sirach, chapter 2, verse 10. Look at the generations of old and see. Did ever any trust in the name Shalaki? Did ever any trust in the Lord and was confounded? Or did any abide in His fear and was forsaken?
Right, so good.
Or whom did he ever despised that call upon him.
There you go. All right, and that's the focus, man. So our job is to what? Look into the ways of into the history and see. And how do we see? We see either through vision or we see through reading. All right, Revelation 1 and 3. What about Kushar? All right, because it's going to take faith. It's going to take your faith, man, to get through this. All right, to get through what's coming.
Revelation 1 and 3.
Go ahead, bro.
This is Revelation 1 and 3.
All right. Good.
Blessed is he that readeth, and they that hear the words of the prophecies, and keep those things which are written therein, for the time is at hand.
There you go. So that you're blessed if you're the one that's reading. So that's what it means to look into the ancient times, man, and see that any ever trusting in the Lord and were confounded. All right. So let's look into the old, going all the way back to 483 BC. All right. Let's look into that time during the time of Esther and Mordecai. And Xerxes, all right? And let's see, that was any ever confounded that trusted in the Lord, even in their low condition when it seemed there was no way out. All right, he said, what is it? With the temptation, he always make a way out. Yeah, but with the temptation, he'll make a way to escape.
I got an interjection real quick.
Go ahead.
All right, this is the book of Romans, chapter 15, verse 4. For whatsoever thing were written for our learning, for whatsoever thing were written aforetime were written for our learning, that through patience and comfort of the scriptures Christians might have hope.
There you go. So that's the point. The Lord want to have hope. That's what's going to make the difference between us and 2/3 of our people. Is that we have hope in these last days. All right? In the time where there's no hope. All right? The elect have hope, man. That we, through patience of the scriptures and faith, may have hope. All right? So that's the focus, man. To build each other up to a certain level of faith, and then the Lord can bring fire, man, and bring his judgment. Go ahead, Al.
This is Jeremiah, chapter 6, verse 16. Thus saith the Lord, stay ye in the ways and see, and ask for the old paths. Where is the good way, and walk therein?
Right, so what's the good way? The good way was first keeping the laws to the best of our abilities. And now the good way, Yahweh Shai said that. He said, what? I am the way, the truth, and the light. Take time to get there. I know it's like, oh, surprise. But he said, well, look for the way and walk ye in it. All right. So our job is to look for Yahweh Shai and walk in his ways. You got it? I got it.
This is John chapter 14, verse 6. It says, Yahweh Shai said unto him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me.
There you go. So we got to walk in Yahweh Shai's ways to get to the Father. All right. So he said, look in the ways of old and seek the old path. And the path that we're looking for, start with Moses all the way until Yahweh Shai. All right. As the example. Yep. Go ahead. 1 Corinthians 10 and 13 too. Go ahead. I got it.
All right, this is the book of Sirach, chapter 2, verse 16. It says, they that fear the Lord will seek that which is well pleasing unto him, and they that love him shall be filled with the law.
Right. So those that love him going to be filled with the law. But those that seek that is pleasing to him, he said, what? We're going to give up sacrifices that are pleasing to the Lord. That means what? This truth, doing the work. All right. So that's how you please the Lord, by doing the work and righteousness and the truth and sincerity. All right. And if you love the Lord, the word love goes back to what? Order. So if you claim to love the Lord, you're going to keep the laws to the best of your ability. All right. Go ahead, Doc.
All right, this is the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 13. There have no temptation taking you, but such as is common to man. But Yahweh is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able, but will with the temptation also make a way to escape, that ye may be able to bear it.
There you go. He said we're not going to put more on us than we can bear. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at an example of a brother named Mordecai. Through his faith and his prayer, he was able to encourage the sister Hadassah, which they called her Esther, which was a pagan term, all right? They called her Esther, but her name was Hadassah. So Mordecai, which was a great man, a Benjamite, he was chose to encourage Hadassah to pray to the Lord and also go to the king Xerxes to get him to free our people, man, keep us from being destroyed at that time. All right, so he had an Edomite that was setting out to kill us and destroy our whole nation. Just like today, you got Esau setting out to kill our whole nation, man. All right, or a large portion of it. So the Lord is going to cast a lot for Israel and not for Esau, man. All right, and that's what this represents. Go ahead, Doc.
This is Hebrews chapter 6 verse 10.
Right, because these times of Purim were left as an example of what would happen to any nation that would come up against the elect of Israel, or the children of Israel. What would happen to them? And what happened to what's his name? Haman, the Edomite, the Agagite? He was hung in the gallows. The same ditch that he dug for us was dug for him. Somebody got that?
I find it.
Come on. Go ahead, Kabash.
This is Hebrews chapter 6 and verse 10. For God is not unrighteous to forget your work and your labor of love, which ye have showed towards his name, and that ye have ministered to saints and do minister.
Right, because this is labor. When you're keeping laws and you're going out teaching, that's the labor of love, all right? So the Lord is not unrighteous to forget that. So that's why it's worth it. People think it's not worth it. They'll say, hey, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this work? Or they're looking for financial gain. But the hopeful elect know that there's a reward at the end of this, all right? Go ahead, Doc.
All right, this is the book of Sirach, chapter, and I'm going to start at verse 15. Hate not laborer's work, neither husbandry, which the Most High have ordained.
All right, so we're not supposed to hate that laborer's work, you know? So that means what? Loving his sheep, loving his flock, man. All right, so if you hate doing his work, then you hate the Lord, you know? And you hate his way. Let's get to the point. Go ahead, brother. Precept.
I got it.
Oh my God, go ahead.
Proverbs 20. This is the book of Proverbs 26 and 27.
Right.
Whoso diggeth a pit shall fall therein,
There you go.
and he that rolleth a stone, it shall return upon him.
There you go. And this is a perfect example of what is Esau doing right now. They're laying a snare. And they're preparing a pit. But the Lord said they're going to fall right into it. And this story of the Purim is a perfect example of heathens digging ditches for the children of Israel. And what did the Lord say, man? We're the apple of his eye. All right? Go ahead. Yep.
This is Job chapter 5, verse 12. He disappointed the devices of the crafty,
Oh,
so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise.
right. We might have to bring that out again. Because, because that's what Esau trying to do today. They plan on bringing their new world order and trying to get their birthright back and hopefully hoping to destroy Jacob, and they want the Lord to choose them. All right? But it said what?
It says he disappointed the devices of the crafty,
Yep.
so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise.
Right, and what did Haman try to do? He wanted to hang us in the gallows, man. And he built the gallows. He had everything ready for us. He built it and had the hanging post, everything ready. And he was walking around smiling and happy and shit. Look at Esau today. Look at Biden. They got the mandates. They got everything ready. They got the whole new world order set up ready. You know, and they walking around happy-go-lucky, thinking they about to reach their goal, their agenda. But the Lord said, what? He going to disappoint the devices of the crafty, that their hands cannot perform their enterprise. The word hand represents their power. Their power. What's their power? Deception. You know, physical with the military, police. All right? And the bankers. It's, you know, so they're not going to reach that enterprise that they're seeking. Just like Haman didn't reach the goal that he wanted to reach as far as hanging out people. Go ahead,
And this Job 14 and 4. Who can bring a clean of an unclean? Not one. Seeing his days are determined, the number of his months are with thee. Thou hast appointed his bounds that he cannot pass.
There you go, man. So Esau can only do what the Lord allows him to do. All right, he has his bounds, not just his time and rulership, but also his bounds, meaning how just like the Lord told the devil that he's going to do so much to Job. That's the same thing that Esau can do to us. He's limited in what he can do. All right. So the Lord has a certain bounds that Esau cannot pass. And in these last days, the Lord gonna say, "Touch not my anointed. You come far enough. You know, you reached your limit." Go ahead.
This
I'm
Psalm
gonna get to the story
chapter
too.
7, verse 15. He made a pit and digged it, and is fallen into the ditch which he made. His mischief shall return upon his own head, and his violent dealings shall come down upon his own pate.
Right, man. So let's get to the story now. What's that? Esther Chapter 1. All right, get a little understanding. All right. We might bring that out again. That on page, yeah. Let's start from Esther Chapter 1. We ain't gonna read the whole chapter. We're gonna skip around. We ain't gonna read the whole story.
My God, this is the book of Esther, chapter 1, verse 1. Now it came to pass in the days of Asawayas, this is Asawayas, which reigned from India even unto Ethiopia, over 120 provinces.
Right. So right here, so if you're reading it in the Apocrypha, it say Artaxerxes, but it really Xerxes. All right. Xerxes ruled. Xerxes the first ruled from 486 BC. He ruled all the way to 465 BC. All right. And it said what? It said 3 years, right? It's gonna say that thing.
God. Verse 2, that in those days, when the king Asawayas sat on the throne of his kingdom, which was in Shushan the palace, in the 3rd year of his reign, he made a feast unto all his princes and his servants, the power of Persia and Media, the nobles and princes of the provinces, being before him.
Right. So in the 3rd year, what's that? 486. You count 3 years. That'd be 483. All right. So around 483 is when this happened. Okay.
Verse 4. When he showed the riches of his glorious kingdom and the honor of his excellent majesties, many days, even 180 days.
Mhm.
And when the days were expired, the king made a feast unto all the people that were present in Shushan the palace,
Right.
both unto great and small, 7 days, in the court of the garden of the king's palace.
Right. And this point right here that he's gonna read is gonna show you how Hadassah got chosen. All right, to be exalted, meaning an exalted woman, not queen. They call her Queen Esther, but the word queen goes to the word queen. If somebody will get that, the word queen, Quean,
Yeah.
the Quean, the queen. All right, but what she was, and even Vashti, which was a Persian, was like a Iranian, and this woman Hadassah, they were exalted women. That's what that means, to be an exalted woman. So, but in the English they got the word queen, but in the Hebrew it would be malakah. Malakah would mean exalted woman above all other women. All right, go ahead.
Malak.
Malak means king.
Con.
It's the word queen from the online etymology dictionary. says a woman, low-born woman also female serf, hussy, prostitute, low to high,
Low-born woman.
wife, woman, vain or worthless woman.
Vain or worthless woman. That's what the word queen means. So you got what people want to be queens, these women of our nation. That's exactly what they're acting like. A bunch of queens.
Also, it says compared to queen, Queen.
Yeah, same thing. Yeah, it's the same word basically. All right. So let's get that straight first. That she was just an exalted woman. Why? Because she was in a low degree. She was considered a young woman, a young maiden, and we was in the low degree in the Persian Empire, just like in America we're in the low degree. And she was exalted to a royal stature.
Just like Joseph.
Just like Joseph. That's right. All right. To be able to free the children of Israel. So let's get into the story just briefly dealing with Hadassah.
Real quick, Kushan. That's why the scripture also says, "Rise up, you women that are in need." Because if you think about it, because we're in that same type of situation right now. So the women that really believe in the truth, that's the type of spirit that they should be in. Like, you know what I'm saying? Utilize the assets that we have right here in this kingdom that we have, and working accordingly, not working against the men of the Lord.
Right. And if you don't want to, Somebody get Jeremiah 6 and 2.
There's the book of Jeremiah, chapter 6 and verse 2. I have likened the daughter of Zion to a comely and delicate woman.
Right, so we're just like Esther, all right? That's woken up and set up to pray for their people. All right, the same way Esther was set in place to pray for her people. We're set in place to deliver our people, all right? Praying to the King, Yahushua. Revelation 14 and 4. Let's get these real quick. Let's get to these points.
This is Revelation chapter 14, verse 4. It says, these are they which were not defiled with women, for they are virgins. These are they which follow the Lamb, whithersoever he goeth. These were redeemed from among men, being first fruits unto Yahweh and to the Lamb.
There you go. Song of Solomon 1 and 3.
Solomon chapter 1, verse 3 has already that.
Yep, virgin just means young woman, all right, a young maiden.
It says, can I start at 1?
Either one, yep.
All right. This Solomon 1 and 1, it says the song of Psalms with Solomon. Let him kiss me with the kiss of his mouth, for thy love is better than wine. Because of thy Savior, of thy good ointments, thy name is as an ointment poured forth. Therefore do the virgins love thee.
There you go. All right, so you gotta be anointed with the spirit of Yahweh Shai, man, to even be an Israelite in these times. You can call yourself an Israelite by nationality, but you ain't doing it but following the vanity. This is about spiritual. You know, you call yourself an Israelite, but then you have to walk that spiritual walk. All right, to serve the Father.
Precept.
All right, so you gotta go through your Yahweh Shai. Go ahead, brother.
This is Proverbs chapter 7. I'm going to start at verse 4. It says, say unto wisdom, thou art my sister, and call understanding thy kinswoman, that they may keep thee from the strange woman, from the stranger which flattereth with her words.
Right. So, yep. So the stranger, which means these false doctrines. All right. It said these were not defiled with women, meaning these men are going to wake up to the truth, and they're not going to be defiled with these false doctrines like Christianity, Islam, you know. What else? Rastafarianism, Buddhism, you know, and all these damnable heresies that people bring in, like Sakari and I'm bringing in. All right, let's get to the story now, though. I'm going to lose track of stuff.
This is the book of Esther 1 and 6, and it reads, where were white, green, and blue hangings, fastened with cords of fine linen.
Right. Oh, go to 9.
9. All right,
yeah, skip around.
Verse 9. Also, Vashti, the queen, made a feast for the women in the royal house which belonged to King Asawayas.
Right, Asawayas, who was actually Xerxes the first. All right.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right, verse 10. On the 7th day, when the heart of the king was merry with wine, he commanded Mehuman, Biztha, Harbona, Bigtha, and Abathka, Zesther, and Carcass, the 7 chamberlains that served in the presence of Asawayas the king. All right, verse 11, to bring Vashti, the queen, before the king with the crown royal to shew the people and the prince her beauty.
Right, because at that time in the Persian Empire, it was about having a wife, you know, a husband and a wife. Not in America. You know, they don't care about you having that. But in the Persian Empire, it was important. That was like their celebrity, you know, seeing the husband, the king and the queen together, seeing them come out in their royal splendor. But at this time, he was like, yeah, bring her out. Tell her to bring her crown, too, so she can show it off. Just like Jay-Z do with Beyonce and shit.
Right.
Right? Yep. So next thing you know, Vashti didn't want to show up. All right, for whatever reason, most likely because of jealousy. All right, if you know the history. But she didn't want to come out to the public. And what would happen if that disrespect would have reached the other women? They would teach that to their daughters, and they would continue to disrespect the men. All right, that's a set example for the children of Israel today. All right, what they do, they get on TV. All my single ladies, all my single ladies.
Who run the world, girls?
Right, and that's puts that spirit out there, and they all getting that agreement and that protesting spirit. Go ahead, bro.
Like even with the day, you know what I'm saying, with the queen over there in England now, you know, they portray her as like the all said and done, you know what I'm saying? What's a queen without a king? You know, you can't have one, you know? So even with that being said, it's like they passed that dynasty down through the woman when they're also supposed to be through the man, giving the power to the woman, you know, going back to what the elder was saying, like with the whole Beyonce thing, man. Who run the world, girls, this, that, and the third, giving that power to the woman instead of the man.
Right.
And Kanye, you didn't even know about her husband until he died last year. I didn't even know he existed until he died. Like,
Yeah.
And even on the lower level, man, you get on all these social media platforms such as TikTok and Instagram, it's all woman worship. You see what I'm saying? All they're doing is woman worship and accepting.
Right, man. All right. So let's get back to the story, man, with Hadassah and Vashti. So Vashti, now we're focusing on Vashti, how she disrespected her husband. All right, and the consequences that came with that. Go ahead, brother.
All right, back at the book of Esther, king with the crown royal to shoot the people, and the princess her beauty, for she was fair to look on.
Right, that was like a show, putting on a show. All right, you ain't gonna see the fireworks. Everybody want to go see his damn wife.
Verse 12, but the queen Vashti refused to come at the king's commandment by his chamberlains. Therefore was the king very wroth, and his anger burned in him. Then the king said to his wise men, which knew the times, for so the king's manner towards all that knew king's manner towards all that knew the law and judgment. And the next unto him was Karshina, Shether, Admatha, Tarshish, Meres, Marsina, and Memkana, the 7 princes of Persia.
Right, these were like co-rulers, you know. So they were like advisors, you know what I mean? Before he made a decision, he would go to his advisors to help him make a decision. Go ahead, brother.
And Media, which saw the king's face, and which sat the first in the kingdom.
Where you at?
Verse 14.
Go ahead. We can skip down to, let's skip to 17. Go ahead.
Verse 17. For this deed of all of the queen shall come abroad to all women, so that they shall despise their husbands in their eyes. When it shall be reported, the king Asawayas commended Vashti, the queen, to be brought in before him, but she came not.
Right, go ahead. So that's disrespect. Not following the orders of her husband. All right, go ahead.
Verse 18, likewise shall the ladies of Persia and Media say this day unto all the king's princes, which have heard of all the deed of the queen, thus shall there rise too much contempt and wrath. If it please the king, let there go a royal commandment from him.
Right.
And let it be written among the laws of the Persians and the Medes, that it be not altered, that Vashti come no more before the king Asawayas, and let the king give her royal estate unto another that is better than she.
See that? So he gave her royal estate to another woman that was better than her. All right? And, right? So now, where was you at?
I'm at verse 19.
Verse 19? Right, because the Persians, when they wrote an actual law into place, they couldn't disannul it. So they were saying, write this new law in place saying if a woman disrespects her husband, she cannot stand before him ever again. So she's banished. And that's what he set in place, all right? And within that, he went around looking for new women. And that's when they grabbed Hadassah, all right, whose name was changed to Esther, so she can keep a disguise that she was an Israelite. All right, so when she was in the kingdom with Xerxes, people thought she was a damn Persian or something. All right, or an African or some shit, some Hamite.
The one, and when the decree which he shall make shall be published throughout all his empire, for it is great, All the wives shall give to their husbands honor, both to great and small.
There you go. So he had to set a new order in place. Just like in the kingdom, the Lord gonna set these orders in place. Where the women gonna give honor to the husbands again. America not doing that. Esau's not doing that. All right. Let's go down to chapter 2, verse 1. Whoever want to read, you good. You got it? You can read a little bit.
This is the book of Esther, chapter 2, verse 1. After these things, when the wrath of the king Asawayas was appeased, he remembered Vashti and what she had done, and what was decreed against her. Okay, verse 2.
Yep.
Then said the king's servants that ministered unto him, let there be fair young virgins sought for the king.
Right, so untouched women or young women, go ahead.
And let the king appoint officers in all the provinces of his kingdom, that they may gather together all the fair young virgins unto Shushan the palace, to the house of the women, unto the custody of Hagi the king's chamberlain.
Right, good.
Keeper of the women, and let their things for purification be given them. Verse 4. And let the maiden which pleaseth the king be queen.
Right, so be exalted. All right, so the one that pleased the king, that's the one that's going to be exalted. All right, not the word queen. That word queen wasn't there. That's an English term, So at that time, they were saying malakah, which means to be exalted woman, meaning raise her up in the kingdom. Go ahead.
Khan, be queen instead of Vashti, and the thing pleased the king, and he did so.
Keep going, brother. Always 7.
Now Shushan the palace. Now
Shushan is right between Babylon and Assyria. All right, or Shushan. Go ahead.
Verse 5. Now in Shushan the palace there was a certain Jew whose name was Mordecai, the son of Jair, the son of Shimei, the son of Kish, a Benjamite.
Right, so he was a Benjamite. See, that's important to know what tribe he was from. He was from the tribe of Benjamin. All right, and the Lord still never did away with Benjamin, even to this day. Go ahead.
Verse 6, who had been carried away from Jerusalem with the captivity, which had been carried away with Jeconiah, king of Judah, whom Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, had carried away.
Right, so that's important. You got to pay attention to that. Because this Benjamite Mordecai, he was an important man. And it's a scripture that say Nebuchadnezzar came into Jerusalem and cropped off the top of the young twigs. I mean, he took all the rulers of our nation and the noblemen. And this guy Mordecai was one of those people. All right. Now, we fell in like 586, and this happened with Jeconiah in 598. All right. So next to that precept right there, in verse 6, you want to write 598 BC because that's when it happened. All right. So Mordecai was one of those brothers that was brought over to Babylon in 598 BC. All right.
Verse 7. And he brought up Hadassah, that is Esther, his uncle's daughter, for she had neither father nor mother, and the maid was fair and beautiful.
Right, so that was his cousin. All right. So she had another father or mother because they died. So he took her in as his daughter. Go ahead.
Whom Mordecai, when her father and mother were dead, took for his own daughter.
There you go. Yeah. So that would be his cousin. All right. So she went to him. She went to Mordecai for all the truth, for all the answers. She wasn't coming up with it herself. See, the focus is not that a woman freed Israel. It was that she was being guided by a man and through faith. All right.
That was verse 7.
That was verse 7. All right. So let's get I want to read a little bit more on this.
Verse 8.
5 what?
598. Yeah, 598 BC. Let's go a little bit more. Just get some more understanding on that.
Verse 8. So it came to pass when the king's commandment and his decree was heard, and when many maidens were gathered together unto Shushan the palace, to the custody of Haggai, that Esther was brought also into the king's house to the custody of Haggai, keeper of the women.
Right. Go down to verse 10.
Verse 10, Esther had not showed her people nor her kindred.
Right, so she ain't let them know that she was an Israelite. All right, she didn't let these Persians know that she was an Israelite, and she hated being there every day. See, that's why the Lord still dealt with her, because she hated it. Just like in this society, we're in America, but we show the Lord that we hate this place. All right, this is not our rest. And she was showing the Lord. She was praying to the Lord, crying to the Lord, and it says she disgusted. She was disgusted in these heathens. You know, she hated them. All right, but she had to sleep with the damn heathen. You know, and go to him to help us. All right.
Verse 10, Esther had not showed her people nor her kindred, for Mordecai had charged her that she should not show it. Verse 11, and Mordecai walked every day before the court of the women's house to know how Esther did and what should become of her.
Right, man. So Mordecai was watching his daughter, his new daughter that he had took as his daughter, and once they took her into the castle with Xerxes, Mordecai sat out there he was what you would call a gardener. All right, he was a gardener, and he sat out there and was watching to see what was going to happen, like watching every day to see what was going to happen with her, man. And he was praying to the Lord for her and for our people. All right. All right, so let's keep a little bit more, maybe.
God. Verse 12. Now when every maid's turn was come to go into the king Asawayas, after she had been 12 months, according to the manner of the women, for so were the days of their purifications accomplished, to wit 6 months with oil of myrrh, and 6 months with sweet odors, and with other things for the purifying of the women.
Right, so a woman back in the ancient times, so that's how it's gonna be in the kingdom. You ain't gonna just walk up to the street and just meet a chick. It's gonna be order set to it. You're gonna be set up with a woman. You know, she's gonna be set up with you, like on Coming to America. Prepared, yeah.
Purified.
Yeah, she's gonna be purified. It's gonna take a whole year for her to wear oils and to soak in the tub. You know, they gotta open that now and then. And they soak in the tub and they let them oils and the perfume soak up into their vagina. And they come out smelling like that for the rest of their damn years, man.
Jake do it now in the sense when she's a whore or she's in the midst of boredom, she sits and soak herself in vinegar and try to trap and cleanse her body and close it
a little tighter back here.
Make it bright.
Yep. And they used to have oils and flowers and stuff.
Scripture said myrrh bath.
Yeah,
Myrrh.
we hit to that now. We ain't falling for all that.
Yeah. And that would clean any infections and diseases, man. And yeast infections. Right? So this was very important, and it shows you the level that we're on now as a nation, man. We're not on that level of royalty. All right. So now let's get to go to 16.
God, verse 16.
Yeah, we just bounce around real quick.
So Esther was taken unto King Asawayas into the house of royal in the 10th month, which is the month Tebeth, in the 7th year of his reign. And the king loved Esther above all the women, and she obtained grace and favor in his sight, more than all the virgins, so that he set the royal crown upon her head and made her queen instead of Vashti.
Right, so he made her queen, made her rule over the house of the women instead of Vashti. All right, go ahead.
Then the king made great feast unto all his princes and his servants, even Esther's feast, and he made a release to the provinces and gave gifts according to the state of the king. And
right. Can you go to verse 21 now?
Verse 21. In those days, while Mordecai sat in the king's gate, two of the king's chamberlains, Bigthan and Teresh, of those which kept the door, were wroth and sought to lay hands on the king Asawayas.
Right. So these Persians, most likely Persians, they sought to kill the king Xerxes, and Mordecai knew about it, so he snitched on him. You know, and that put Mordecai in good graces with Xerxes. All right, this is all the Most High's will. Somebody get Psalms, Proverbs 20 and 24.
It's Proverbs 20 and 24. Man's goings are of the Lord. How can a man then understand his own way?
There you go, man. All right, so man goings are of the Lord. So the Lord was controlling this whole situation. Yeah, he made Haman do the things he did so he can get judged. He had these two eunuchs plot to kill Xerxes so that Mordecai could
Here.
huh?
So Mordecai could overhear it.
So that Mordecai could be exalted.
Come on.
Yep, but he could overhear it and be exalted. You know? So this is all done by the Most High. The situation with Vashti, that was all because of the Lord. So we got to see the Lord's hand in the situation with Russia, with NATO, you know, with China and America. All right? How America and NATO wants the war, but Russia holding back from the war. The Lord said the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord, and he turned it whithersoever he will. You know?
You got something?
Yeah, go ahead, brother, then you got something.
All right. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 45, verse 7. I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, the Lord, do all these things.
Yeah, go ahead, brother. You got it.
Connie, not just bringing this out to back up the elder, as he was saying, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai is the one that created the light and the darkness, man. He is the potter, and he has power over the clay. He created one vessel to honor and another vessel to dishonor, man. It's all in his will, and this is his movie, man. And he the one that written the script, and we just playing it out.
All right, brother.
And if I may add on too, far as back when the elder was speaking on the Ukraine, Russia, and America, man. So America, Russia don't want that war, but America's that bully, so they're, you know, applying force, this, that, and the third. But just in actuality in everyday life, once that bully constantly apply that pressure, when that person finally stand up, hit his ass with that shadow punch and catch him out of nowhere, that major hit. That's the same thing going on now, man. You know, it was an article speaking on how they say Russia's missiles can't touch her as far as through the missile defense system. They wasn't able to hit their targets. Like, you know, but Scripture says otherwise, man. So, you know, in actuality, that's building up America's pride, making them feel like they can't be touched. In actuality, what Scripture says, their guys going to get demolished.
Precept.
The right call.
Real quick, Babak Shah, because what does the scripture say, man, in the book of Shirah? That Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai is going to harden the heart of Pharaoh again. You know, this modern day Pharaoh is the nation of Edom, which is the so-called Caucasian race, which are the Edomites of the Bible, man. That's it.
I got precept.
Come on.
This is Ezekiel chapter 38, verse 10. Thus said the Lord Yahweh, it shall come to pass that at the same time shall things come into thy mind, and thou shalt think an evil thought. And that the evil thought is going to be put in the mind of Vladimir Putin from Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, because it says the king's heart is in the hand of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. So just like how things played out in the book of Esther for our deliverance, it's going to play out in these times right now.
Right, you got 24 minutes?
Hey, I was watching X-Men Apocalypse the other night, man. And basically, you know, far as he used Professor Xavier, you know, but the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai don't need to do that, man. He's that cerebral in himself, you know. So basically, he had used Professor X to basically amplify himself and speaking to everybody that had command of the keys with the missiles, man. You know, and basically had denuclearized everything and sent them up. You know, that's going to be the same thing in this case, like the brother brought out, man. The Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai going to put an evil thought into their head, man. But they're going to send those missiles over here to this place called America, also known as Babylon in the scriptures, you know.
Right, man.
Quick interjection.
Yeah, we're just going to read chapter 3 and then pray chapter 9. Go ahead, Sam.
It's Isaiah 13 and 2. It's a lot. And it reads, lift ye up a banner upon the high mountain, exalt the voice unto them, shake the hand that they may go into the gates of the nobles. I have commanded my sanctified ones. I have also called my mighty ones for my anger. I guess verse 3 is the point. Even them that rejoice in my highness, man. So just as, you know, the Lord rose up, or he had, what's his name? Mordecai in that lot, and Esther in that lot, just as we are in the lot today. All right, entering in and getting closer to that king, man. You know, that king in this realm being Esau, right, and getting ready to tear him down, man. You know, the Lord used men, all right, his foot soldiers, ultimately to get close to the enemy, man. You know, the battle axe and the weapons of war with thee will I bring down the nations, man. You know, roughly paraphrasing.
Right, man.
All right.
All right.
Chapter 3.
Yeah, let's go to chapter 3. Read that.
This is Proverbs. You know what? Let's go to chapter 3 first, and then I'll bring it out.
All right. This is the book of Esther, chapter 3, verse 1. After these things did King Asawayas promote Haman, the son of Amadatha the Agagite,
Right.
and advanced him and set his seat above all the princes that were with him.
Right. So he advanced this Haman, the Agagite. All right. Let's see who the son of Agag was. Somebody grab. It's in history too. You can type it in, but it's like a tribe of Edom. But 1 Samuel 15 and 5, all the way to 8.
15 and 5.
Yeah, because you had Samuel, the prophet Samuel. He killed the king of the Amalekites, Agag. All right, because King Saul didn't want to kill him.
Yeah.
All right, he brought him back, and Samuel was like, "Yo, you supposed to kill him, man." And Samuel killed him. And this guy Haman, he was a descendant of theirs, so they hated us. They had a deep-rooted hatred for our people. Just like today, Esau still had that deep-rooted hatred for our people. You see that? So let's get that real quick.
15 and what?
15 and 5 already 8.
You got it? Go ahead, bring it out.
This is the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 15, starting at verse 5. And Saul came to a city of Amalek and laid wait in the valley. And Saul said unto the Kenites, "Go, depart, get you down from among the Amalekites, lest I destroy you with them.
Right.
For ye showed kindness to all the children of Israel when they came up out of Egypt. So the Kenites departed from among the Amalekites."
Right. A lot of Kenites were Jakes. All right, go ahead.
And Saul smote the Amalekites from Havilah until the comings to Shur, that is over against Egypt.
Right. So we were known for killing them damn Amalekites. All right. For tormenting them, just like you said, the two witnesses. They tormented these damn people. This is part of that torment. Go ahead. Over the 8.
And he took Agag, the king of Amalekites, alive, and utterly destroyed all the people with the edge of the sword.
There you go. So he took Agag,
Gone.
right, the chief, the prince of the Amalekites.
Gone.
All right. So that was when you get the root word Agagite. All right. And that's what Haman was. He was an Agagite. A descendant from Agag. All right. Go ahead.
But Saul and the people spared Agag and the best of the sheep and of the oxen and of the fatlings and the lambs and all that was good, and would not utterly destroy them. For everything that was vile and refused, that they destroy utterly.
Right. And ultimately Samuel was like, "Yo, I kill him. You tripping? You supposed to destroy everything. You supposed to destroy all of it." All right. So now let's stick to the point. Go to 15 and 20. 1 second. 15 and 20 real quick.
Samuel.
Yeah, go over to 20.
1 Samuel 15 and 20.
Yeah.
Oh wait, keep reading from verse 9.
No.
Oh,
Go to 20.
All right, 2 Samuel 15 and 20. And Saul said unto Samuel, "Yeah, I have obeyed the voice of the Lord, and have gone the way which the Lord sent me, and have brought Agag, the king of Amalek, and have utterly destroyed the Amalekites."
That's not what the Lord said. He said destroy all of them.
Gone.
But he brought Agag, the king of the Amalekites. That's the point. So Agag was the king of the Amalekites. Who was the chief house of Amalek? They were Edomites. All right. Go to 32.
Gone.
Verse 32 all the way to 33.
Verse 32 of 1 Samuel 15.
Yep, somebody grab the addition to the book of Esther in the Apocrypha. It's chapter 16, verse 10. And then right there, make the point.
Then said Samuel, bring ye hither to me Agag, the king of the Amalekites. And Agag came unto him delicately, and Agag said, surely the bitterness of death is past.
Wait, he came up to him delicately.
Gone.
So he was like tiptoeing.
Gone.
He said, surely you don't want to kill me. Go ahead.
And Samuel said, as thy sword have made women childless, so shall thy mother be childless among women. And Samuel hewed Agag in pieces before the Lord in Gilgal.
Hewed him in pieces.
Hey, that's that Benjamite.
Yeah, that's Revelation 13. Somebody get that from Marcus Short? Revelation 13?
Revelation 13.
Yep, Revelation 13. I think it's 10 or 11. Revelation 13. Lead them in captivity.
This is Revelation 13 and 9.
Right. What they did to us is going to happen to them. What they did to our women is going to happen to them. All right. 1,000 years of that in the kingdom.
This is Revelation 13 and 9. It says, if any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here's the faith. It's like the patience and the faith of the saints.
Yeah, see that? So that's our faith today. We're in that same spirit. All right, like the righteous prophet Samuel was. All right, with Samuel was back here on the earth today. All right, from the tribe of Levi. Now, that's right, he hewed him in pieces. Now, this was his descendant named Haman. All right, somebody get that the addition to Esther, verse 16 and 10, because it says he was an Agagite. So we got to know what that descendant of Agag is. He was an Amalekite.
You said Esther 16 and 10?
Yep, kind of. In the Apocrypha?
Yeah,
all the way to 14.
All right. It's Esther 16 and 10. It says from Ammon, a Macedonian, the son of Amada, being indeed a stranger from the Persian blood.
Oh, so who is this talking about? That word Ammon is Greek for Haman. So it's that same Edomite. It's just describing him in a Greek way. All right. So it said Agag, the Macedonian. So who else was a Macedonian? Alexander.
But it's so funny you say that because in the Apocrypha, like, because I'm looking at it online, it says Esther Greek.
Esther Greek, yeah, because they couldn't find this version of Esther in the Hebrew or in the Chaldaic script. So they only found this version in the Apocrypha. They only found it in the Greek. So you'll find all the names, Mordecai, Haman. You'll find it in the Greek. It'll say Ammon instead of Haman. All right. Now it'll say Mordecaius. You know what I mean? But those are the same people, and it'll say Artaxerxes instead of Xerxes. All right. So it's saying that he's clearly a Greek. He's a Macedonian, and he's not a Persian. Read that again.
It says for Esther Greek 16 and 10.
Right.
Ammon, a Macedonian, the son of Amada, being indeed a stranger from the Persian blood, and far descended from our goodness, and as a stranger received us.
Right, man. So he was a stranger from Israel, and he was also a stranger from the Persians. So he was clearly an Edomite. As the scriptures try to tell you, he was an Amalekite. All right, go ahead up.
He says, has so far forth obtained the favor that which we show towards every nation, as that he was called our father and was continually honored of all the next person unto the king.
Right, so he was basically called the president. You know, he was like the second in power under Xerxes. So people respected him, you know what I mean? But because of that power, he misused that authority. The Lord like, hey, you can get raised up, do your thing, Esau. But, oh, you damn heathen. But then when he went to go take the rights from the people and to destroy the children of Israel, that's when the Lord got mad. All right, that's when the Lord cast his lot. And he had those heathens, those Edomites, they were hung in the gallows, and the Lord delivered the children of Israel. All right?
Precept.
Go ahead, Doc.
It's the book of Daniel, chapter 4 and 17. This matter is by the decree of the watchers and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men. and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and setteth up over it the bases of men.
There you go, man. All right. So the Lord had a plan for the children of Israel. Even though we were on the bottom, the Lord still found a way to what? Raise us up once again, to deliver us. When you think there's no way, the Lord can make a way.
Even if you got to use a heathen.
Even if you got to use a heathen. You know what I mean? Even if he got to divide Satan against Satan. That's what he's doing right now. He's not going to raise up no woman to deliver us. He's going to raise up what? The woman being the scriptures. You know, Sophia. But he's going to divide Satan against Satan. You know, have Esau controlling the minds of these heathens, man.
Just like how he called Cyrus the Great his servant.
That's right, man.
You know what I'm saying? For us to be able to build the temple again.
Yeah, he controls Xerxes too. Watch this, man. I'm talking about in a matter of a moment. Like, what's that in the Apocrypha? We might go to that too. Hadassah walked up to Xerxes, and she had to go in there and talk to him. And anybody that went in there and talked to his king, if he didn't touch your neck with the scepter, the golden scepter, that person would be put to death on the spot. You're not allowed to go talk to him unless he did that. So she walked in there to talk to him, and he looked at her like he was about to kill her. Out of nowhere, his demeanor changed toward her. He was like, "Come here," and she was like, "What the hell?" And he said, "I'm your brother, and I'm here to show you some love." It was the spirit of the Lord was on him.
Brother, give me a hug.
Give me a hug. Bring it up my neck. Yeah, hug my neck. So, yeah, Hadassah was shook, you know. So we might get into that too, y'all. Just kind of build on the story. All right, so where was that?
All right,
Esther, second Esther. Esther.
16.
16 and 11.
Yeah, come on.
Has so far forth obtained the slacking. I'm gonna start at 10. He said, for Ammon and Macedonia, the son of Matha, being indeed a stranger from the Persian blood, and far distant from our goodness.
Right, so he was far from us. He wasn't no Israelite. All right, go ahead.
As a stranger received of us, as so far forth obtained the favor that we showed toward every nation, as that he was called our father and was continually honored of all the next person unto the king.
Right, so that word father just means authority. So he was called our authority, like a president. All right, go ahead.
All right, it says verse 12.
Right, because Haman was put over every province, you know, and he was given order that everybody was supposed to bow to him when they saw him. And, you know, and that was important. That everybody, when they saw Haman, everybody was supposed to bow to this heathen. All right? But Mordecai didn't. All right, the Benjamin. Just like today, they're going to get everybody to bow down to the mandates. But the hopeful elect won't. All right, 7,000 men that will not bow the knee to Baal. Let's get it out. Go ahead.
All right, verse 12. But he, not bearing his great dignity, went about to deprive us of our kingdom and life.
There you go. So what is Esau doing today? They want to deprive us of our blessing and our life. See that? So that's where Esau is messing up at. The Lord said that we touch the apple of my eye. Yeah, touch the apple of my eye. Something like that. Touch the apple of my eye. Right, man. All right. So that's what this is about. This is about an example of any nation that will come against our people. And today, the people represent the ones in the truth. All right, the hopeful elect of Israel. You know, the ones that come up to touch them, the Lord will respond. You can touch 2/3. You can do what you want with them. But when it comes to the Lord's people, which will be his elect, that's when the Lord will respond, just like he did many times throughout the scriptures. All right?
It's Zechariah chapter 2, verse 8. But thus saith the Lord of hosts, after the glory hath he sent me unto the nation which spoiled you. For he that touches you touches the apple of his eye.
Right, because the Lord is the one that bears the sword in his hand. All right? Yahushua. Now it says what? He sent Yahushua unto them that spoil us. All right? Those that touch us, they touch the apple of the Lord's eye, man.
Precept.
you know, what he's focused on. Go ahead.
This is Ezekiel chapter 35 and verse 5. Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end. Therefore, as I live, saith the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Sit thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee.
Right, you want to speak on it?
Hey, so just for touching that, hey, that apple of the Lord's eye, just like the brother saying, that perpetual hatred, all right, mainly pertaining to Esau, right, in these times of old and the times now, that perpetual hatred that's continual, all right, is going to have an end ultimately by Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, all right, sending judgment on Esau for touching the apple of his eye, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans.
I got a precept.
Go ahead.
All right, this is Psalms chapter 17, verse 8. It says, keep me as the apple of thy eye, hide me under the shadow of thy wings. Keep me from the wickedness the wicked that oppress me, from my deadly enemies who compass me about. They are enclosed in their own fat, with their own mouth they speak proudly. They have now compassed us in our steps. They have set their eyes down, but bowing down to the earth. And that's how, like, it was explained in the book of Esther, talking about how, like, this heathen was placed over us, but, like, you know, he wanted to persecute us and destroy us. But when we pray to the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahshai, keep us at the apple of his eye and deliver us from these wicked ass individuals.
Right, man, because Mordecai prayed and the Lord raised up his cousin Hadassah, whom they call Esther. And then Hadassah prayed and the Lord delivered us. All right. So now let's get to the story again. Let's get back to the story.
All right. This is Esther 13. This is 16 and 13. It says, having by manifold and cunning deceit sought of us the destruction as well of Mardosius.
Now Mordecai. Mordecai.
All right. Mordecai, who saved our life and continually procured our good, as also of blameless Esther, partaker of our kingdom with their whole nation. For by these means he thought, finding us destitute of friends, to have translated the kingdom of the Persians to the Macedonians.
There you go. All right. So this guy Haman, this so-called Edomite, he wanted to transfer the kingdom over to Greece. All right. And he thought that Jerusalem didn't have anybody to defend us. All right, just like Esau today, they think we don't have anybody to defend us. You know? So they like, yo, let's go ahead and make this new world order. Let's go ahead and depopulate them, do what we're going to do, and get them out of here, these useless eaters. You know? Let's do away with Jacob. Esther 7 and 6. We're focusing on Haman, what type of person he was. Because it says he was an Agagite.
7 and 6.
This is the book of Esther, chapter 7, verse 6.
Look at it.
And Esther said, the adversary and enemy is the wicked Haman. Then Haman was afraid before the king and the queen.
Right, so he was the wicked. All right, so Esther knew that he was wicked, man. All right, so he was the wicked, just like Esau is the wicked today. But look what happened when they came up against us and thought us to not have any defenders. When we do have a redeemer, we have a protector, Yahweh Shai. All right, and we're gonna pray to the Lord, and they're gonna be like, "Nah, I ain't gonna answer you." But yeah, what does it say? The Lord is Sabaoth.
Oh, God.
That's what it is. That's right, man.
You want to keep going on the 7?
Huh?
Want me to keep going on the 7?
Let's get this real quick.
James chapter 5.
All right, this is the book of James, chapter 5, You want me to get straight to the point?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, this is the book of James, chapter 5, verse 4. Behold, the hire of the laborers which have reaped down your fields, which is of you kept back by fraud, crieth, in the cries of them which have reaped are entered into the eyes of the Lord of Sabaoth.
Ears.
Oh, Shalaki. Behold, the hire of the laborers which have reaped down your fields, which is of you kept back by fraud, crieth.
Right, through the dollar. You know, they keep us bound through their dollar, through fraud, keep us in poverty. You know, through their little what do they call? Birth certificate system. Sweat equity slavery. All right, go ahead.
And the cries of them which have reaped are entered into the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth.
See, now our cries, now where the Lord has blessed us to be able to cry out to him, just like in the time of Egypt. All right? Just like during this time, the Lord blessed us to be able to cry out. And those that cried out, that didn't follow after the ways of Haman and these Persians, the ones that cried out to the Lord and wanted to keep their ways, like Esther, she wanted to keep her ways. She kept her ways too. You know, and Mordecai, he kept his laws. They wanted to be sovereign. And the Lord said, yo, I got y'all, don't worry about it. Just like he did with Cyrus, the Lord did it again. You know, like the brother Nathaniel Allah read, the Lord ruleth in the kingdom of men. He give it to whomsoever he will. Go ahead.
All right, this is 2 Samuel chapter 22, verse 7. In my distress, I called upon Yahweh by Shem Yahushai and cried to my power, and he did hear my voice out of his temple, and my cry did enter into his ears. So I just brought that out because like that was King David crying in his distress, being surrounded by the Philistines. But like if you go on further, he said it entered in his ears and smoke came out of his nostrils and the Lord was wroth. So now think about it in these times. Like the Lord was wroth in a pleasant way. He didn't destroy everybody, but as we cry in these times, man, he gonna move some furniture, man. And like the more we pray, it's like what the scripture says, like if my people will humble themselves and pray, then I will hear, and you know what I'm saying, I will hear their voice. So just like how he heard us in Egypt, he's hearing us in the second Egypt, the more we cry, man. And this time he finna like show up. He like finna show his ass like to a dramatic measure. Like he was mediocre, not to say mediocre, but he was according to his will at that point in time. He only showed himself that much, but he's gonna fully show himself to the whole world these times and being coherent to our cries.
Right. Yep. Before we cried out only to Yahweh, but now we cry out to Yahweh through Yahweh Shai. Yep. Go ahead, brother. You got to
And this is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 50 and verse 33. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the children of Israel and the children of Judah were oppressed together, and all that took them captives held them fast. They refused to let them go. The Redeemer is strong. The Lord of hosts is his name. He shall thoroughly plead their cause, that he may give rest to the land and disquiet the inhabitants of Babylon. So ultimately, our Redeemer is strong, man. Even though the heathen think that, you know, the Lord sit up in the heavens and laugh, just like the brother Kanak is just mentioned about, man. Those cries is entering into the ears of the Lord, man. They're all getting bottled up. All right, from that time all the way up to now, is all getting bottled up for that great judgment.
And a perfect example of how they don't believe that our prayers are being heard. It's like when they see us out there on the highways and byways teaching. What did Esau say? Oh, this is so amazing that y'all are doing this. Oh, keep doing what you're doing, because they don't feel like the Lord hearing what we're doing.
Yes.
They don't feel like that. But as soon as shit started hitting the fan, they're not gonna want us to be out on them streets no more. Like for real. You know what I'm saying? They don't feel like the Lord hears us right now. Just like back in those times, they don't feel like the Lord's really hearing us like that.
Right, we're being made a spectacle. You know.
Oh, but he here. He here. He's very cognitive of what we're saying.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is Psalms chapter 12, verse 5. For the oppression of the poor, for the sighing of the needy. Now will I arise, saith the Lord Yahweh. I will set him in safety from him that puffeth at him. So for the oppression of our people, the Lord hears our sighing and crying on a regular basis. The Lord ears are open unto the prayers of the righteous. And the Lord says, I will arise, and the Lord is going to move. He's going to do something about it. And he says he's going to set him in safety, meaning the Lord is going to protect us and set us in the safety of our land, you know, and keep us from the one that puffed at us, which is Esau. He stayed huffing and puffing and acting like he's going to blow somebody's house down like the big bad wolf in the Three Little Pig story. But the Lord is going to protect us against this fool.
Hey, but one thing about it, though, the wolf was able to blow down the house of sand, the house of straw, but he couldn't blow down the house of brick. And our foundation is the rock of Yahweh by Shem Yahushua. So he can't blow that shit down. He can huff and puff all he wants to. But like he said, he'll give us a mouth that our enemies cannot gainsay or resist. So with that, we're set upon a sturdy foundation. Like you can blow all you want to, Esau. It's not going to do anything. There's no stability behind his huffing and puffing. All his huffing and puffing is in vain right now because guess what? The time that was allotted for him to do that shit has come to an end. And the time for us to rise up to a nation is in the beginning. So now that's why we went to Psalm chapter 5 and Revelation chapter 11. It says that we're going to stand up on our feet as a great exceeding army. So this is that time.
All right, this is the book of Deuteronomy 33 and 27. It says the internal power is thy refuge, and underneath are the everlasting arms. And he shall thrust out the enemy before thee, and he shall say, destroy them. And we can see that, you know what I'm saying, as prophecies go on, we're gonna see that how the tables are, how it is now that we are being oppressed by Esau, the Edomites, you know? But in due time, the tables are gonna be turned to where they're gonna be in this predicament that we are in captivity, man. Right. You know what I'm saying? And it's the same way how they destroyed our people. The same thing is going to happen to them.
Psalms 137 and 3.
This is Matthew chapter 7, verse 24. It says, therefore, whosoever heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them, I will liken to him a wise man which built his house upon the rock. And the rain descended, and the flood came, and the winds blew and beat upon that house, and it fell not, nor it was slacky, for it was founded upon a rock. You know, going back to the analogy that the brother Nakar brought out, man. Hey, Esau being that wolf and us being the three little pigs, man. Hey, shit, you can blow all you want to, but as long as this house is built upon that rock, as brother Canuck stated, man, hey, this on a solid foundation. This house is not going to move, man. All right. Verse 26, it says, and every one that heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them not shall be likened unto a foolish man, which built his house upon the sand. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat upon that house, and it fell, and it was slacky, and great was the fall of it. So come, man, and if your house not built upon that solid foundation, upon that solid rock, hey, shit, it's gonna fall, man. Why? Because it's not on a solid foundation, man. With sand, it's gonna constantly shift. You know why? Because it has to be packed tight together, man. You know.
And the crazy part about it is, like Esau gonna call your bluff at any given time. If you see, if you really standing upon that rock. You know what I'm saying? So that's why we need to be solid upon that rock. Because guess what? We could individuals like you got those fattest Israelites that it's a fad and it's trending to be an Israelite that come out there and cuss. They just want to come out on the streets and just cuss somebody ass out. And but they're not really built on that foundation. And you know what? They think it's going to be tested. But the faith of the elect is going to be tested to the point of not testing them to make the word, but testing them to prove their word. To testing them to prove that the spirit that was built within them, that Yahweh has placed in them from the beginning, showing your word. But everybody else is going to be tested and showing that they ain't nothing but motherfucking aluminum. Untempered mortar. You know what I'm saying? This Psalms 137 and 3, it says, for they that carried us away captive required us a song, and they that wasted us required us mirth, saying, sing us one of those songs of Zion.
Right, so they don't believe us. They don't believe us, man. Esau seeing us teaching this truth, teaching about Yahweh shall return. They don't believe us, just like they didn't think Mordecai and people like Hadassah had anybody defending them.
They think it just sounds good.
They think it sounds good. Sing up one of those gospel songs.
Negro spirit.
Negro spiritual. That's right. Sing up one of those Negro spirituals, man.
Hey, that's funny. Y'all remember the movie Glory?
Yeah.
Oh my Lord. Hey, Matthew Broderick was right there with him. Oh my Lord. Hey, sing about the Lord. Sing that thing. Come on, cause guess what? That was us inspiring ourselves to do Esau's work.
Right.
That was us inspiring ourselves to do Esau's work because we were confused in a dazed state of mind. But now the elect are being brought out of that confusion. But the song still sounds the same to their ears until the prophecies come to pass. Until the prophecies come. When the prophecies come to pass, hey, don't sing that no more. Hold on, wait a minute. You're singing a little bit too loud. And that's when we're supposed to get louder. You feel what I'm saying? That's when we're supposed to get louder. Because guess what? If there's one person, they say if a tree falls in the forest and nobody's around, does it make a noise? When anybody here or forbear, it doesn't matter if we out there by ourselves and everybody walking past and not paying no attention. As long as we doing the work and calling upon Yahweh by Shema Shai, furniture is gonna start moving eventually, according to his time.
Right. Yeah, go ahead, Will.
Esther Chapter 5, verse 9.
Wait.
Then when Haman forth that day, joyful and with a glad heart, but when Haman saw Mordecai in the kingdom gate, that he stood not up, nor moved for him, he was full of indignation against Mordecai.
See that? So we represent Mordecai today as well. All right, so Esau walking around happy-go-lucky in the gates, knowing feeling like they about to get their new world order, seeking to fill their belly. But the Lord said, "What? Yep, when they fill their belly, He's gonna rain fire upon them." All right, but the hopeful elect, they represent Mordecai in the courts of the gate, crying out to the Lord. And every day Esau sees us out there. Somebody get Revelation 11. Let's get this first. Revelation 11. Whoever get it first. Revelation 11 and 8.
This is Revelation 11 and 8. It says, "And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom in Egypt, where also our Lord Yahushua was crucified."
Right, so we're out here in America, which is like the courts, and we're like Mordecai crying out to the Lord. All right, in the streets of the great city. Amongst 2/3 of our people that are still spiritually dead. Go ahead.
Verse 9, it says, "And they," Revelation 11 and 9, "and they of the people and kindreds and tongues and nations shall see their dead bodies 3 days and a half, and shall not suffer their bodies to be put in graves."
Right, so they saw us just like in the ancient time, they saw us in a bad condition, and they sought to what? To increase our affliction. All right, go ahead.
Verse 10, it says, "And they that dwell upon the earth shall rejoice over them, and make merry, and shall send gifts one to another, because these two prophets tormented them that dwell on the earth."
Right, so they were happy putting us in slavery. They were happy sending gift cards back and forth. Just like this guy Mordecai, Haman, he was happy to afflict Mordecai and Esther and our people during that time, because he knew about what our forefathers did to his. Our forefathers destroyed his forefathers for being wicked. Destroyed Amalek, destroyed the Amalekites in that area, destroyed the Agag and his descendants. All right? Go ahead. So he knew about this. Come on, I don't lose the point. Go back to
Verse 11 of Revelation 11 and 11. It says, "And after 3 days and a half, the Spirit of the Lord from Yahweh Bashem Yahushua entered into them, and they stood upon their feet, and great fear fell upon them which saw them."
Right, so that's like us. That's just like Mordecai back then, when the guy Haman, when he was walking up, chilling. He was enjoying his rulership, enjoying his power that Xerxes gave him, enjoying the fact that he thought in his mind he was going to go kill these Israelites, right? Because Mordecai didn't bow down. Now he goes and sees Mordecai in the court of the gate, All right, crying out to the Lord. All right, we're gonna go back to that in Esther chapter 3.
I got 7.
Yeah.
I got 7.
Esther.
Yep. I got 7. Let's get them,
I was on Esther 16.
Yeah, Esther 3. We was on 3, chapter 3, right?
Okay. You really was until you told me to jump this.
Jump to 7.
Yeah, okay.
Is it chapter 7 or verse 7?
Chapter 7. You told me to jump this.
Go ahead, real quick. We'll deal with that. But I was in verse 7.
Job chapter 20, verse 23. When he is about to fill his belly, God shall cast the fury of his wrath upon him.
Speak on it quick.
And shall rain it upon him while he is eating.
All right, so just like how the wicked Amalekite thought that he was finna, like, because he got the position of authority, that he was finna rain down on the children of Israel, because what did it say? Was it Exodus 17 and 16 or 16, 17, that the Lord will make war against Amalek for all generations, and he's going to destroy Amalek? So he knew that. He knew that. So he thought, he's like, oh yeah, I got some get back that I'm gonna get on these so-called children of Israel. But the scriptures say, the Lord said, when he's trying to fulfill his belly, the Lord said rain down upon him, just like how he's gonna do with Edom, with Esau on this to this day. Because guess what? What are they doing with these mandates and everything, trying to get everybody to conform to the NWO.
Right. So let's get into the story a little bit now. Let's get into Esther chapter 3 again, and get more understanding on that. And then we go to Esther chapter 9, and then a couple more chapters in the Apocrypha, and that's it. All right. So we're dealing with the holy day called Purim, which means Powarium, or Powar, which would mean lots, or like you'll roll some dice, or you'll break a piece off something, you cast a lot. So at this time, you had Xerxes and you had Haman, the Edomite, or the Agagite, that cast lots to see if he was going to go and kill us or not, and hang all the Israelites, hang us on ropes, because Mordecai didn't bow down to him. That's the pride of these damn heathens. All right. So, but at the same time, the Lord cast a lot. All right, and he chose for them to be destroyed. Let's get it, brother.
This is the book of Esther 3, verse 7.
Yep.
In the first month, that is the month Nisan, in the 12th year of the king Asawayas.
Oh, no, you gotta start from 1.
Oh, Khan.
Yep.
This is the book of Esther, chapter 3, verse 1. After these things, did King Asawayas promote Haman, the son of Amadatta, the Agagite, and advanced him and set his seat above all the princes that were with him.
Right, so that's how he became a father, meaning authority. All right, go ahead.
And all the king's servants that were in the king's gate bowed and reverenced Haman, for the king had so commanded concerning him.
Right, so the king told him, he said, yo, everybody's supposed to bow to you. So he walking around looking for everybody to bow to him all day. That's prideful, man.
What is this one?
Petty, man. You walk around, you better bow. The king said you got to do it.
Who do you think he is? Showing up?
Showing up, yeah. Yeah. That's Esau at work. That's how you act at work, at your job.
Living the dream.
Yeah, you know. All right, let's get it, man.
But Mordecai bowed not, nor did he reverence. All right, verse 3. Then the king's servants, which were in the king's gate, said unto Mordecai, why transgressive thou the king's commandment? Now it came to pass, when they spake daily unto him, and he hearkened not unto them, that they told Haman to see whether Mordecai his matters would stand. For
Right,
he had, verse 4 at chapter.
Right, bro.
Con, Mordecai his matters would stand. Mordecai his matters would stand, for he had to them that he was a Jew.
Right, so Mordecai told him that he was a Jew, he was an Israelite. All right, but Hadassah didn't. All right, go ahead.
Verse 5.
Right, once he told him that he was an Israelite, Haman was like, all right, cool, I ain't gonna just get you, I'm gonna get all your people. All right, go ahead.
Verse 5. And when Haman saw that Mordecai bowed not, nor did he reverence, then was Haman full of wrath.
Oh, sound like Esau, don't it? Esau been full of wrath, coming down with great wrath, got nothing but wrath in him, hatred towards us since the time of Isaac.
I'm gonna work like the devil.
Never worked. Right? nothing but hatred. That dude Biden be saying some
Like for real.
Hey,
He's stuck in them times.
yeah, man.
he about as bad as Donald Trump. He just more soft with it.
Yeah, he says some shit, man. Hey, come on, man.
Come on, man. If you even think about Trump, you ain't black.
That dude's funny, man.
It's a great Negro there.
Esther 3 and 6.
Yeah.
And he thought scorn to lay hands on Mordecai alone, for they had showed him the people of Mordecai.
See, he wanted to kill Mordecai, but then they showed him the people of Mordecai. So he was like, I'm going to kill all the Israelites. See, that Esau, man, he enlarged his desire of hell.
This is Jeff.
Yep.
Wherefore,
Cannot be satisfied, man.
Wherefore Haman sought to destroy all the Jews that were throughout the whole kingdom of Asawayas, even the people of Mordecai.
There you got, see that? He want to kill everybody. Just like today, they're going to want to destroy everybody, man. Who knows how it's going to play out, man. You know, you see putting it out there to attack the Israelites, Jakes. Crack valves into the like,
$30 million.
you know?
$30 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So go ahead, brother. We go down the whole list.
All right, verse 7. In the first month, that is the month Nisan, in the 12th year of King Asawayas, they cast Pur, that is the lot before Haman.
Right, so they cast a Pur. All right, so they cast a lot. All right, before Haman. All right.
It's like from day to day and from month to month to the 12th month, that is month Adar.
Right, somebody get where's that at, man? Get this real quick. Proverbs 16:33. That's right, man. So they cast Pur. And that word Pur means what? Pawar. It means a lot. All right.
This is Proverbs chapter 16, verse 33. It says, the lot is cast into the lap, but the whole disposing thereof is of the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Yahushua.
Right, so you can roll dice or anything that you want to do, but who controls that is the Lord. All right. So the Most High controls who wins in your boxing matches, everything, football games, all of that. All right. That's right. That's right, man. So let's get back to it. So Esau can cast a lot, but the whole disposing thereof is up to the Lord. All right. So Esau cast a lot to hang us in the gallows. But the lot got cast against Esau. All right. Let's keep going a little bit more to get to more of the story a little bit.
It's Esther 3 and 8. And Haman said unto King Asawayas, there is a certain people scattered abroad.
We're that certain people that were scattered. And Esau knows that today. We're the certain people that scattered. Go ahead.
And dispersed among the people in all the provinces of thy kingdom, and their laws are diverse from all people.
Oh, so our laws are different from all people, man. They knew that back then. That's why they said we were tormenting them, man, with our ways. Go ahead.
Neither keep they the king's laws.
So that's like today. They're like, yo, these people that call themselves Israelites, they call themselves keeping their own laws, and they're not even keeping America's laws or mandates.
Fine.
So you see where it's heading. All right, go ahead.
Therefore, it is not for the king's profit to suffer them.
Yeah, thanks a lot for the camera. Keep people listening.
Fine. Verse 9. If it please the king, let it be written that they may be destroyed, and I will pay 10,000 talents of silver to the hands of those that have the charge of the business.
Right? Didn't the Lord call Esau the accuser of his brethren? That's Esau, man. They're the accuser. All right, that the Bible speaks of. See that? So they're accusing us to these heathens, accusing us to the Lord. Go ahead out. Let's get it, brother.
In this first Maccabees chapter 3 and verse 20, they come against us in much pride and iniquity to destroy us and our wives and children, and to spoil us. But we fight for our lives and our laws. Wherefore the Lord himself will overthrow them before our face. And as for you, be ye not afraid of them.
Go ahead, my bad.
And so we're not to be afraid of these heathens, man.
Right now,
You know, or their faces, their looks. You know how they coming down with these mandates. You know their philosophy. You know we don't trim our ways for society, man. You know we stay on the straight and narrow, keeping our eyes single to Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, because he's gonna overthrow them.
Right. Now, and to get you to the point, because we run out of battery time. Now, what happens next is Haman put out an order for us to be killed. Xerxes administers letters in response to Haman, saying, "Yeah, go ahead and kill everybody because I don't want this nation to rise up against me because these Jews." You're right. You know, mind you, he didn't know that Esther was a Jew. See that? So next thing you know, the Lord put the spirit of Mordecai to go deal with Esther. And remember, he raised Esther, Mordecai. So she reverenced him like a high priest. So he told her, "Yo, you got to do this. See, you think you're gonna get away with this? You think you're gonna be able to sit up there with the Persians while we get destroyed and killed? You're gonna be destroyed, if not now, but in the future. And the Lord will raise up more Israelites like us."
God.
That's what Mordecai told him. He said, "Yo, he'll destroy you, and we'll get killed, and the Lord will still raise up other Israelites somewhere else.
If you don't help, somebody will.
Somebody will. We'll still get raised up somehow." And that lets you know
that's faith.
That should get you on point with the train that's happening over to the kingdom. We don't die, we multiply.
And the understanding of the position that you are in, you know, being in this truth, just like Esther, she was in that position for a reason.
Come on with it.
You know, so Mordecai was there to get her mind right, man.
Yeah.
You there for not to, you was exalted, not for your own self, for your own good, to live lavishly, but for the sake of Israel.
That's right, bro. That's right. A lot of people get in these positions, they get comfortable. They walk away from the truth. They get a little job, or they get money, or they get a woman. You know? And we're here to what? We're here to free our people. All right, we're not here to be comfortable. You had one first, right?
I'm just Isaiah chapter 13, verse 9. Rise up, you women that are at ease. Hear my voice, you careless daughters. Give ear unto my speech. And I brought that out to the simple fact, like Mordecai was like, "Hey, rise up. You have the position." Just like how the women have the position nowadays today. Like, you know what I'm saying? They'll use Section 8 welfare and things like that to say, "I don't need a man," but why not use that to be like, "Hey, come refuge here with me. I know the spirit of the Lord." I like how Paul said, use this word but not abusing it, because the fashion of this word is going to pass away. But understanding that Esau gave you this power, but you want to use that power to get up on the Esau, but not use that. Why not use that power that you have for the healing of your nation? You know what I'm saying?
Right, man. Right.
It's Matthew chapter 16, verse 24. Then said Yahushua unto his disciples, "If any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whoever will save his life shall lose it, and whoever will lose his life for my sake shall find it."
Boom. That's a prime example. That's what Mordecai was trying to tell. Like, you think you sitting there all lavish with the king, like your ass is gonna be destroyed eventually. But and you're gonna die eventually, and the Lord's gonna raise up other people to save his people. So why not, use the power that you have right now and do something for Yahweh by Shimei Shai.
Right, but she was righteous. That's the good part about her, man. She was righteous. Look at that real quick. Look at the second, I'll say second book of Esther, you know what I mean, though. That means in the Apocrypha. Let's start from 14 and 1. Somebody from Bible shot. 14 and 1? Yeah, we're skipping around a little bit.
14 and 1?
Yes.
All right, this is the book of, this is to Esther, chapter 14, verse 1.
Right, this is Esther speaking on what we were just talking about. Mind you, Mordecai threatened her. And this is what she said to the Lord. Go ahead.
It says, Queen Esther, also being in fear of death, resorted unto the Lord.
See that? So she resorted unto the Lord. Right? She humbled herself.
And laid away her glorious apparel and put on the garments of an anguish and mourning. And instead of precious ointments, and instead of precious ointments, she covered her head with ashes and dung, and she humbled her body greatly.
Right. A lot of women ain't gonna do that nowadays.
And all the places of her joy she filled with her torn hair.
There you go. So she was walking around the house just tearing her hair out, stressed out, man, because he was talking about killing us that next couple of days. All Israel that they could find. All right. Just like today, they threatening to depopulate the earth. That's serious. Depopulate. That's not talking about cool. That's talking about taking your life. You know?
I got a precept.
Go ahead,
This is 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 2. While they behold your chaste conversation coupled with fear, whose adorning, let it not be the outward adorning of plaiting of the hair, and of wearing of gold, but of putting on the apparel, but let it be of the hidden man of the heart, and which is not corruptible, even the ornament of meek and quiet spirit, which is in the sight of Yahweh, of grace and pride, of Slaki. It says, but let it be the hidden man of the heart, which is not corruptible, even the ornament of a meek and quiet spirit, which is in the sight of Yahweh, of good grace. And that's what she did. She went and humbled herself, and she took up everything she had and put, like, you know what I'm saying, pour earth upon her head and humbled herself and went and inquired of Yahweh by Shem Shai. And that's an example of how our women need to live today, humbling themselves.
Yep. I'll go ahead. We'll get right back into it.
All right, it's back at Editions of Esther, chapter 14, verse 3. And it says, and she prayed unto the Lord, Yahweh, power of Israel, saying, O my Lord, thou only art our king. Help me desolate women, which have no helper but thee. For my danger is in my hand from my youth up. I have heard in the tribe of my family.
Right, so she was taught since a child about the Lord. That's how she knew. Not because she was some great woman that was a prophetess. She was a woman that learned in the truth, just like the other women have to learn from the man in the household. Go ahead.
It says, I have heard in the tribe of my family that thou, O Lord, tookest Israel from among all people, and our fathers from all their predecessors, for a perpetual inheritance, and thou hast performed whatsoever thou didst promise them.
That's right, man. So he promised us what? Salvation. All right.
Verse 6, and now we have sinned before thee, therefore hast thou given us into the hands of our enemies.
Right, so even today the Lord gave us into the hand of our enemies. All right. But he promised to perform that which he promised 2,000 years ago. All right, and all throughout the scripture, salvation. Go ahead.
It says, verse 7, because we worship their gods.
Right, because our people worship these idols. All right, that's why we ended up in this condition. Go ahead.
O Lord, thou art righteous. Nevertheless, it satisfied them not that we are in bitter captivity. But they have stricken hands with their idols.
Right, go ahead.
That they will abolish the thing that thou with thy mouth hast ordained and destroyed thy inheritance.
Right, so that's Esau. All right, so they were not satisfied. All right, they were not satisfied that we were in bitter captivity. See, our we say at the time our affliction had an end. That's Esau, man. They helped to what? They helped to further our affliction. All right, that's what they did. So they're not satisfied that we're in captivity. They want full control. They want to hear us say it. They wanted to hear us say, "You the master. Kiss my convert." They want to hear it. See, it's not enough for Esau seeing us in captivity, seeing us destroyed. You know, now they want full control. Once you got all the riches, what's the next thing? The next thing left is power. All right, and that's what Esau wanted to show. And what did Mordecai do?
Stood.
He stood against their power. He didn't bow down. So by not bowing down, that drove him crazy. So what are we doing today? We're not bowing down. So by us not bowing down, that's driving these Edomites crazy. That's driving them crazy. All right, we can't see it, but they're going crazy out there. They watching our videos. That's why I say great fear fell upon them that saw them. All right.
Interjection. Con. Another good example of that is in the movie 300. Xerxes was going around trying to conquering everybody, and he went to Sparta, and he met with King Leonidas and tried to get him to bow the knee. And when he refused, he got upset and started snapping. But that was mostly a show of fear. And then when they start defeating him on the battlefield, in the movie, it tell you how great a chill fell down his spine, man.
Yeah,
like he had great fear, man, because them men was not bowing down, man. And we doing that same thing spiritually.
That's what faith do.
And in that movie 300, he was a god king because Xerxes considered himself a god, and the dude had a very human-like chill went down his spine. just to make it even more he's not as powerful as he thought he was.
Crazy, man. You think yeah. That's what Esau got to get taught. He say Esau thinks that they're God. Right? They're going to be showing that they're just men. Go ahead.
This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 35 and verse 12. And thou shalt know that I am the Lord, and that I have heard all thy blasphemies which thou hast spoken against the mountains of Israel, saying, they are laid desolate, they are given us to consume. Thus with your mouth ye have boasted against me, and have multiplied your words against me. I have heard them. Thus saith the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, when the whole earth rejoiceth, I will make thee desolate. Right now, the earth is in mourning, man, because the wicked is in rulership. But when the righteous is in rulership, the earth is going to rejoice, man. And that's where Esau has no place. He's going to be in his 1,000-year prison bid. It's going to be eradicated, hotly pursued.
Psalm 9 and 14. Psalm 9 and 14. All the way to 20.
You know Esther too?
Yeah, we're talking about the rest.
All right, this is the book of Psalms, chapter 9, starting at verse 14. That I may show forth all thy praise in the gates of the daughter of Zion. I will rejoice in thy salvation.
Right, so he said we're going to rejoice, right? There you go. All right, we're part of that rejoicing in the salvation of the Lord. Go ahead.
The heathen are sunk down in the pit that they made, in the net which they hid in their own foot taken.
Right, so their own foot is taken. All right, and in the pit that they made, they're going to be sunk down into it, meaning they're like their own grave. All right, so just like Haman was, everything they planned towards us, like what the Goldberg said at the end of Color Purple, everything you mean toward me, gonna turn back against you. You put that hand up, what is that? All right, go ahead.
The Lord. Psalms 9 and 16. The Lord is known by the judgment which he executeth. The wicked is snared in the work of his own hands. Hi, Gideon, Salah. The wicked shall be turned into hell, and all the nations that forget Yahweh.
Right, so Esau gonna be turned into hell. See that? That's them. That's the rich man lifting up his eyes in hell. See, that's gonna be turned on them. What the hell they trying to bring on us? The snare and the trap is gonna fall on them. They're gonna be turned into it.
Hey, just like what you were saying basically earlier too, basically the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, he got the last say so with the rocks, man. So basically everything that Esau was trying to do is being turned back right on them. How they basically also trying to pretty much surround Russia too as well over there with the Ukraine, setting up military bases over there. That's coming to America, man, as it talks about in Jeremiah 50. Surround yourselves round about, all in the boat, man. So they're going to be caught in their own demise, their own destruction. The things that they feel like they're setting up for somebody else is actually for their own demise, man.
Hey, we got 11 minutes on the battery.
Gone.
11%?
6%.
6%? Huh?
6.
Oh shit. So somebody got a battery charger. I don't know. That's it. Sheesh. Go ahead, bro.
I got Psalms. Psalms.
Yeah.
Back at Psalms 9, verse 18. For the needy shall not always be forgotten. The expectation of the poor shall not perish forever.
There you go. So we on the bottom. We're not gonna always be forgotten. That's what Proverbs one that we're not gonna be forgotten. All right.
You need a
One of the chargers though. What is it called?
Cord.
Type C.
Type C.
It's not Type C. Go ahead.
I got Type C right next to you.
Verse 19.
The Platcon. That's it.
Go ahead.
Arise, O Lord, let not man prevail, let the heathen be judged in thy sight. Put them in fear, O Lord, that the nations may know themselves to be but men. Salah.
So Esau,
yeah,
put them in fear so that the nations may know themselves to be but men. And that's what Esau gonna find out, that they're just men. All right, just like Haman had to find out.
They think they lower the Rothschilds.
Right. There you go.
9, 14, and 20.
All right. That's right, man. He said a human chill went down the spine.
Gone.
So Esau got to be shown that they just men. And that's why your house said not going to meet you as a man. He's going to teach them that they're just men. That's right, man. All right. That was it on that, right? Let's go back to the river.
All right. This is back in the editions of Esther chapter 14, verse 9. It says that they will abolish the thing that thou with thy mouth hast ordained, and destroy thy inheritance, and stop the mouth of them that praise thee,
right,
and quench the glory of thy house and of thine altar, and open the mouths of the heathen to set forth the praises of the idols, and to magnify a fleshly king forever.
Right, let's go down to verse. See, look, man. See. Now let's learn a little bit more about Hadassah. Let's go down to verse 15. All right. You know, because people would probably say she was wicked and all that, but let's see what she wasn't. All right, go ahead.
All right, verse 15. It says, "Thou knowest all things, O Lord."
Right. So, the Lord knew what she was doing in there. Go ahead.
It says, "Thou knowest that I hate the glory of the unrighteous."
She hated them damn heathens.
And abhor the bed of the uncircumcised.
Right, she hated having to sleep with that damn heathen too.
Damn, forced you.
Yeah.
God damn.
They got, man.
Like
it says, "And abhor the bed of the uncircumcised, and of all the heathen."
Right, man. And of all the heathens, man. That's right. Go ahead. So she ain't want to sleep with none of them damn devils. See, 2/3 of the women of our nation, the wicked ones, they can't sleep with any of these damn heathens because of riches and wealth. The exact opposite of. Yeah. Yep. Right. So the exact opposite of people like Esther.
in Florida, you have the thing where Jake woman Eve, she sit behind the Arabs, counting with the Arab.
Yeah. They feel like that's a come up.
They come and they provide crabs, shrimp, weave.
Yep. Go ahead.
All right, verse 16, it says, "Thou knowest my necessity, for I abhor the sign of my high estate, which is upon my head."
Right, so she abhorred that. Even though they made her exalted woman, the Lord, she was saying, "Lord, you know why I'm here, and that I hate this place, though." You know what I mean? Go ahead.
As Moses, he was under the Pharaoh in Egypt,
but he hated it. Yep.
Oh, even Deborah. Deborah was an exalted woman, but she still understood her place. You know what I'm saying? And she wouldn't even though she only knew the laws, she said, "I can't teach you that." But she said, "Go down to the, you know what I'm saying, to the river and listen to the women sing and understand the law." So women, true women of the Lord understood their place at any given time, and they didn't overstep their boundaries. totally opposite from the women we see today.
All right. 1 Corinthians 7:31. Yep, come on, brother. 1 Corinthians 7:31. Yes.
This is the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 31, and it reads, but covet,
And they
use this word that we
Go ahead. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 30.
Yeah.
This is, and they that weep as though they wept not, and they that rejoice as though they rejoiced not, and they that buy as though they possessed not. Verse 31, and they that use this world as not abusing it, for the fashion of this world passeth away.
Right. And people like Esther, she knew that. You know, we had to use what we had for that moment. But she knew that was passing away. She knew that there was a righteous kingdom coming after this. All right, that those heathens weren't going to rule forever. You know, so she that was the fashion of this world passeth away. Kingdoms have fallen and risen upon this earth. Just like this last kingdom's going to fall away. All right. Where we at, man?
Back at Esther. Verse 16.
Let's go to chapter. Yeah, you got to the point with that. Let's go to chapter 11, and then we'll go to chapter 10, and then chapter 9. That's it.
All right, chapter 11 of the Edification of Esther.
Yeah. We're reading backwards.
I see.
Read that. If you want to understand the book of Esther and the Apocrypha, you got to read it backwards.
All right, this is back at the book of Edification of Esther, chapter 11, verse 1. And it reads, it says, in the 4th year of the reign of Ptolemaeus, and
Cleopatra,
the Scythians,
burrito or some shit.
Yeah, the Scythians, who said he was a priest and Levite, and Ptolemaeus. I can't say it.
Ptolemaeus?
I can't say it. But Ptolemaeus.
Yeah, the P is silent, so it's Ptolemaeus.
Ptolemaeus. Okay. I remember reading it. It says, in the 4th year of the reign of Ptolemaeus and Cleopatra, and the Scythians, who said he was a priest and Levite, and Ptolemaeus, his son, brought his epistle of...
This epistle.
It says, and his son brought his epistle of Purim.
That's important. We gotta say that.
All right. It says, and brought this epistle, epistle of Purim.
Right. So there you go. So there go the word Purim. All right. So this is an epistle. This is doctrine now. Go ahead.
Which they said was the same, and that Lysimachus, the son of Ptolemaeus, that was in Jerusalem, bad interpreted.
No.
Had interpreted.
Had interpreted. Shit, somebody else want to grab it?
Yeah, whoever good with the Greek.
Where you at?
I'm in chapter 11, verse 2. 1.
Esther 11 and 2. It says, in the 2nd year of the reign of Artaxerxes the Great, in the first.
The distance to Esther.
No, you're right.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
Esther 11 and 2. In the 2nd year of the reign of Artaxerxes the Great, in the 1st day of the month, Nisan, Mardochus, the son of Jarius, the son of Simei, the son of Sinzai, the tribe of Benjamin.
Oh yeah, kind of.
Junior.
Yeah. So that's Mordecai, basically. They're basically reaffirming everything from the other chapters. So that's Mordecai, you know what I mean?
Can you say in Greek? It's pronounced Mordecai.
Yeah, same thing. Yeah. This happened around 485 or 484 BC. So, right, so the 2nd year is Artaxerxes. Yeah. So it was like 1 year before everything happened, 483. So it was like 484 or 485. All right. So you can really write 84.
Come
Come on.
All right, verse 4 of Esther 11. It says, who was a Jew and dwelt in the city of Susa, a great man.
Oh, so Mordecai was a great man. See that? Now we done talked about Esther, but what about Mordecai? He was the one that was praying and everything. That was getting on Esther and all that. You see that? That's the work that's the hand, the hidden hand that nobody pays attention to. All right.
Who was a Jew and dwelt in the city of Susa, a great man, being a servitor the king's court.
Right, so he was basically like a gardener. All right, go ahead.
He was also one of the captives which Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, carried from Jerusalem with Jeconias, king of Judea.
Right, 598 BC.
And this was his dream.
Right.
Behold, verse 5, behold, a noise of a tumult with thunder and earthquakes and uproar in the land. And behold, two great dragons came forth ready to fight, and their cry was great.
Right, so to understand who those two dragons are, you got to go to chapter 10. That's why you got to read it backwards. All right? So if we'd have read chapter 10 first, they already gave you the answer. So we're reading the statement first and then get the answer in a second. All right, but the two dragons were Mordecai and Haman. All right.
All right. Verse 8.
So they were ready to fight against each other.
Verse 8 of Esther chapter 11.
Yep.
It says, and lo, a day of darkness and obscurity, tribulation and anguish, affliction and great uproar upon the earth, and the whole righteous nation was troubled, fearing their own evils, and were ready to perish.
Right, so they knew that this death sentence had went out on our whole nation. So they were scared. Everybody was scared, right? So, that's right, man. They say, hey, imagine that. They say, everybody that's an Israelite gonna die tomorrow. You know, everybody, if you got dark skin, you die tomorrow.
All right, that's what you, hey, that's, go back to what you said earlier, what the state and the time that we in today of how they trying to depopulate, mainly the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. And the war is against you.
That's right,
you know.
That's right.
They give our people crack pipes.
And it's spiritual all the way to the sense of what? Revelations 12 and 12, the war in heaven. All right, Satan and his angels against Yahweh and Yahweh Shai and his angels. Man.
That's right.
You know?
Yep. Go ahead. And they fighting against the hidden ones, you know, the Israelites.
This is Psalms chapter 83 and verse 3. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no longer in remembrance.
There you go, man. So they've always been fighting against us. And what had happened? It said, then the dogs came and licked our wounds. That's these other nations joining up with Esau's, setting stores in our neighborhoods, giving us all this junk food.
They shall seek to please the poor.
Seek to please the poor. Right, that's the GMO foods, you know, getting us locked up. Hurry up and buy it. You know, helping us to keep our people asleep with those stereotypes. Make them feel like thieves when they walk into a store. See, they help to forward that affliction. All right. Go ahead, brother.
All right. Esther chapter 11, verse 10. It says, then they cried unto Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, and upon their cry, as it were from a little fountain, was made a great flood, even much water.
Right. So that little fountain represents.
Oh, damn.
Yep, you got it.
You already know where I'm going.
Yep. So that little fountain in the ancient times that represented Esther. All right. That was that little fountain that turned into a flood. And now today, like I said, the woman would be Israel, the hopeful elect. The church, they start off with what? A little fountain that's gonna become a what? A flood. All right, that wisdom. You know. That's right. You got it.
I got the first one. All right. It says,
This is Zechariah chapter 13, verse 1. It says, "In that day there shall be a fountain open to the house of David and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem for sins and uncleanness." And that fountain right there is talking about Yahweh Shai.
Right, start from Yahweh Shai, and the foundation was laid with who? With Peter. Right, dealing with faith. And that's what this story is about, faith, man. And they're supposed to be wide as a sea right now, flood. All right, go ahead, brother.
All right, this is Sirach chapter 24, verse. I'll let you get verse 30. Sorry, 30 right there.
All right, this is Sirach, chapter 24 and verse 30. I also came out as a brook from a river.
Right, wisdom came out as a brook from a river.
And as a conduit into a garden.
Right, so as a conduit, it led into a garden, which, go ahead.
I said,
with the vineyard.
I said, I will water my best garden, and I will water abundantly my garden bed.
There you go. So he watered his best garden. All right, he's going to water abundantly his garden bed. Go ahead.
And lo, my brook became a river, and my river became a sea.
There you go. So that river, that brook, that little fountain became a river, and that river became what? A sea, man. So that's that flood. Looking at it spiritually, comparing it to today. But in the book of Esther, it's talking about Esther herself being that river, all right? And changed it to a flood.
Well, I had a precept pertaining to the water.
Well, go ahead, yep.
The book of St. John, chapter 4, verse 13. It says, Yahweh shall answer and said unto her, whosoever drinketh of this water shall thirst again. But whosoever drinketh of the water that I shall give him shall never thirst. But the water that I shall give him shall be in him a well of water, springing up into everlasting life.
And think about it like this. That's a beautiful scripture to bring out, because if anybody would have sought salvation in any other way, according to that time, they would have reaped destruction. But the Lord had already set up a way for us to escape those times through Mordecai and Esther. You know what I'm saying? So just like going back to when he said when you see shall see the abomination that laid desolate standing in the temple, run for the hills. But you had Sakari that had went to Masada and went to the towers of Antonia and made a suicide pact and killed himself. But salvation was in the place, you know what I'm saying, that the Yahweh Shai told us to run. So it doesn't matter what any given situation that we're brought forth and put into, Yahweh Shai has a way out, regardless. We just don't understand that way until we understand him.
All right, let's get back to this story, brother.
Gone. This is Esther chapter 11, verse 11. It says, the light and the sun rose up, and the lowly were exalted, and devoured the glorious.
There you go. So the Lord is going to exalt wisdom, and the lowly are going to be exalted. They're the elect of Israel, and they're going to devour the ones that are prophetess right now, which would be Esau. All right. So that's like saying our dragon is going to devour their dragon. You know. So our riches, our power is going to devour their power. You said you got something?
Yeah. It says
Yeah, we keep going with verse 12.
Come on, Esther 11 and 12. It says, now when Mardochus, I forgot Mordecai. And now when Mordecai, who had seen this dream, and what Yahweh Bashem Yahushua had determined to do was awake, he bare this dream in mind, and until night, by all means was desirous to know it.
Right, so this is telling you, when you read it in this way, that's why it said a couple years before, so it'd be like 485, 484. And that's when he had the dream of what was gonna happen in 483. All right, of us being delivered. So he had a dream about this, man. All right, the Lord showed him in a vision. Go to verse 10 now, somebody.
You say verse 10?
Chapter 10. Okay, the whole chapter.
This is the book of Esther, chapter 10, verse 1. Then Mordecai said, Yahweh have done these things, for I remember a dream which I saw concerning these matters, and nothing thereof have failed. A little fountain became a river, and there was light in the sun and much water.
Right, so it happened. All right. So a little fountain did become a great river, didn't it? We're witnessing it today. Right? And there was light and the sun and much water. So we have wisdom and much water today. Abundance of water. All right, so the Lord kept his word. All right, go ahead, brother. Unless you got something to say.
Nope.
I got one.
All right, go ahead. Go ahead, precept.
Fine. All right, this is the book of St. John, chapter 7, and verse 38. He that believeth on me, as the scriptures have said, out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water.
Wow. Can we speak on Habakkuk 2 and 3, somebody?
Con, and I just brought that out to back up the brothers, man. Because once you believe, as the scriptures say, first you put Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua as your fear, because that's the beginning of knowledge and wisdom. You know what I'm saying? He will direct you to that wise counsel. And once he direct you to that wise counsel, and you hear that wise word, you will add on to it. And once you add on to it, out of your belly should flow those rivers of living water, man.
Right. Right. Yeah, he said, and nothing thereof have failed. Nothing have failed, man. Go ahead, up.
The book of Habakkuk, chapter 2 and verse 3. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie.
Right, so what he showed how Mordecai, he showed him a vision. But at the end, when it manifests, it shall speak and not lie. Those are the prophecies. Just like today, we see everything happening. All right, second Ezra chapter 9, we ain't got to get it, but he said, when you see all these signs happen, we know that it is the very same time when the Lord is going to judge the earth which he made. All right, and everything he spoke of from the beginning is happening. Isaiah 34 and 16.
This is Isaiah chapter 34, verse 16. It says, seek ye out of the book of the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, and read. No one of these shall fail, none shall want her mate. For my mouth it have commanded, and his spirit it have gathered them.
There you go, man. So his spirit is what gathered us. All right? And what's gathering the elect, was bringing about the prophecies. All right? The spirit of truth, spirit of wisdom. All right? So, yeah. So nothing is going to fail of the Lord's word. His word shall not come back into him void. Let's go back to the book of Esther.
This is Esther, back in Esther, chapter 10 and verse 6. A little river, and there was light in the sun and much water. This river is Esther, whom the king married and made queen.
There you go. So that goes with Revelation chapter 12, where it says the sun and moon was under her feet. The 12 stars, crown of 12 stars. What that represent? Knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. All right, so it's given back to us, you know. Let's keep going up.
Verse 7. And the two dragons are I and Ammon.
Whoa, so they're going to break down into two dragons. All right, so if you want to know, you ever want to trap somebody that say they know everything and shit, these Christians, take them to chapter 11 before you go to chapter 10.
Bring them that deep water.
Bring them to deep water. And ask them who the two dragons are. They're going to say,
See, that's not important. Because God is love.
Yeah, ask them to break down the two dragons in 11. They don't know the answers to chapter 12, chapter 10. All right? Go ahead, bro.
Verse 8. And the nations were those that were assembled to destroy the name of the Jews. And my nation is this Israel, which cried to God, to Yahweh, and were saved, for the Lord have saved his people, and the Lord have delivered us from all those evils.
See, now we get to the point of the Purim, starting, settle down now. Now you get the basis of it. That the Lord delivered us from all those evils. What were the evils? When Haman tried to get us hung on the gallows. We still might read it if we have time. And instead, the Lord switched it and hung him on the gallows. All right, go ahead, brother.
And Yahweh have wrought signs and great wonders, which have not been done among the Gentiles. Therefore have he made 2 lots, one for the people of Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai, and another for all the Gentiles.
There you go. So he made 2 lots. All right. So there was a lot that Haman and these Persians have thrown to destroy us, but the Lord threw his own lot, and the lot fell upon us. All right. So this is a time of celebration, man. You should be rejoicing in these times. Go ahead. Go ahead. 1 second. Let me finish real quick.
All right. It's back in Esther 10 and 11.
Yep.
And these 2 lots came at the hour and time and day of judgment before Yahweh among all nations.
Right, man. The last minute, man. And in these times today, is the Lord bringing this judgment. That's what it is. When you see a lot, it's talking about judgment. Esau falling and us being risen up, that's judgment. Go ahead, Kabash.
This is Matthew chapter 5 and verse 10. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are ye when men shall revile you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for my sake. Rejoice and be exceedingly glad, for great is your reward in heaven. For so persecuted they the prophets which were before you.
And that's a beautiful scripture to bring up, because guess what? It was all because that our brother didn't bow to the king at the time. And he was robbed. He was like, oh, hold on, you ain't gonna bow to me. Same thing with Daniel. You know what I'm saying? Hananiah, Azariah, and Mishael, they didn't bow down to the statue of Nebuchadnezzar, and they wanted to persecute us then. That's in the position that we're in today, that we ain't bowing down to those mandates, and they want to persecute us. But guess what? He said, touch not my anointed, you know what I'm saying? Do my prophets harm. So we're protected in these days, man.
Appreciate it.
Right up.
Come on. This is the book of Psalms, starting at verse 7. And it says, 1,000 shall fall at thy side, and 10,000 at thy right hand, but it shall not come nigh thee. Only with thy eyes shalt thou behold and see the reward of the wicked, because thou hast made the Lord, which is my refuge, even the Most High, thy habitation, man. And I brought it out because the previous precept that was brought out was a lot for the Gentiles and a lot of the Lord, man. You know what I'm saying? It's a reward coming for both of those lots, man. A reward for the wicked and a reward for the just. And the reward that's coming on the wicked, man, primarily these prophecies and plagues that's about to befall this place, primarily those 200 million nuclear missiles. You know what I'm saying? It's for the wicked, man. And we should not take part in that. We should only see it with our eyes, man. Like the Lord is going to preserve us against that reward for the wicked, man.
God.
Precept.
All right, go ahead, you got it.
This is the book of Psalms, chapter 91, and verse 10. There shall no evil befall thee, neither shall any plague come nigh thy dwelling. So
good.
It's that hedge over the Lord's elect, his remnant, all right, who's ultimately hoping and believing in his name and his mercy.
And for the Purim, like both of the brothers read out of Psalm 91. You know what I'm saying? And it's like you can read that whole chapter, and like you know what I'm saying. That's the spirit that we're supposed to be in, because that's the spirit that they was in these times to bring up the holy day of Purim. Like we're giving gifts, and the ultimate gift unto the elect is salvation, man. And that's the gift that Yahweh Shai is giving unto us. You know what I'm saying? And that's showing mercy, because that's a gift that we don't deserve. The only reason why we don't deserve the gift, but the only reason why we deserve it of it because of the sacrifice that Yahweh Shai made, man. He brought us back to the Father, you know.
All right, bro. Appreciate it. This is Sirach chapter 40. I'm starting at verse 8. Backing up the brother Gabar. It says, such things happen unto all flesh, both man and beast, and this is sevenfold more upon sinners. It says, death and bloodshed, strife and sword, calamities, famine, tribulation, and the scourge. These things are created for the wicked, and for their sakes came the flood. You know, so the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai is just here deemed, to turn it up on the Lord, man. So with that being said, that volume about to get turned all the way up, you know. As the elder said before, he rather shit, them than us, you know what I'm saying? Referring to them as the wicked than us, man. Why? Because we doing the things that are pleasing to the Lord, man. So shit, these things that are out here for judgment, they for the wicked, man.
I got real quick. So, like, as I read this precept, just think about the whole holy day of Purim. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we was looked at as to be inferior at this motherfucker. Oh, you don't want to bow down to me? And Yahweh Bashim Yahshua uses the weak thing, the so-called weak things of the world to confound the mighty. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 27. It said, Yahweh had chosen the foolish things of the world to confound the wise, and have chosen the weak things of the world to confound the things which are mighty. Because they mighty in their mind, man. They think they have the wisdom of this world, and they so-called universities united under one verse to try to confound. What did Yahweh say in the next? What Paul say in the next chapter? Chapter 2, he said, where is the wise? Where is the disputer of this world? Come on, I'm ready to battle all y'all. Because I have the wisdom of Yahweh by Shem Yahweh. It said, verse 28 says, and base things of the world and things which are despised, because we're despised out here in the streets. You know what I'm saying? It says, and the base things of the world and things which are despised have Yahweh chosen, yea, and things which are not to bring to naught which things that are. Because before our business came here, wasn't no prophets out there. So he brought the things that are not to bring down the things that are. You know what I'm saying? All of our people was in the churches at that time. You know what I'm saying? And guess what? We were pulled out of that bullshit, pulled out of that false doctrine to be brought forth to the hour by Shem, man. It says, verse 29, it says, that no flesh should glory in his presence. So it's all the control of Yahweh by Shem Yahshua. It can't no fleshly being really glory and say, I did this. I only Yahweh Shai when he was down here in the flesh because he was the embodiment of truth. That's it. You know what I'm saying? So can't nobody glory in the flesh at all. We can only glory in the spirit, man.
Right. Somebody get the addition to the book of Esther, verse chapter 13, verse 7.
Chapter 13, and verse 7, all right, book of Esther. And it reads that they who of old and now also are malicious may in one day with violence go into the grave.
Right, talking about Esau.
Go
ahead.
And so ever hereafter cause our affairs to be well settled and without trouble.
Right, so that's what we're praying for. Keep going, brother.
It's verse 8.
Right.
Then Mordecai thought upon all the works of the Lord and made his prayer unto him, saying, O Lord, Lord, the King Almighty, for the whole world is in thy power. And if thou hast appointed to save Israel, there is no man that can gainsay thee.
That's right. That's what this is about. There's nobody that can stop it. If the Lord says we're going to be free. So if the Lord's free man is free indeed. So there's nothing Esau can be able to do. All right.
Verse 10. But thou hast made heaven and earth and all the wondrous things under the heaven. Thou art Lord of all things, and there is no man that can resist thee, which art the Lord.
That's right.
Thou knowest all things, and thou knowest, Lord, that was neither in contempt nor pride,
right,
nor for any desire of glory, that I did not bow down to proud Amen.
Right, so he ain't bowed down to Esau not because of his pride. You know, because he could have bowed down to Esau for the nation of Israel. You know what I'm saying? Hey, I'll bow down to you to keep you from killing my people. But instead, he chose to honor the Lord. You know, loving the Lord more than he loved his own people. All right, go ahead.
For I could, this verse 13. For I could have been content with goodwill for the salvation of Israel to kiss the soles of his feet.
Right, just like today. People, I'm gonna do it for my family. I gotta do it for my kids, man. You know, but what about for the Lord? Right? Keep rocking.
But I did this that I might not prefer the glory of man above the glory of Yahweh, by Shem Yahweh Shai. Neither will I worship any but thee, O Yahweh Bashim Yahushai.
Already.
Neither will I do it in pride. And now, O Lord, power and King, spare thy people, for their eyes are upon us to bring us to naught.
That's right, man. That's right. Their eyes are upon us today
Come on.
to bring us to naught. So we asking the Lord again to spare our people. And we look at people like Mordecai as an example of prayer. All right? And the Lord hears our prayers, man. There you go. Let's get I think that's the point on that. Let's go to chapter 16, verse 10, all the way to 23, and then we get chapter 9, and we're done.
This is Esther chapter 16, verse 10.
Yep.
It says, for Ammon, a Macedonian,
Go ahead.
Hammon,
No, I'm saying the Macedonian, that damn Greek.
Yeah.
And then Edomite Greek. Go ahead. Ammon or Ammon. Yeah, either one. Look at it, bro.
For Ammon, a Macedonian, the son of
Amadatha,
being indeed a stranger from the Persian blood and far distant from our goodness, and as a stranger received of us.
Right, so he hated our laws, man. All right, but he was raised up by the Persians, but he wasn't a Persian.
Verse 11, had so far forth obtained the favor that we show toward every nation, as that he was called our father and was continually honored of all men,
Yeah, go ahead.
as the next person unto the king. But he, not bearing his great dignity, went about to deprive us of our kingdom and life.
Right, so he got his rulership and power, just like Biden and them, but now they're going to deprive us of our life, man.
Living.
All right, and chasing after the kingdom. All right, go ahead.
Verse 13, Esther chapter 16. Having by manifold and cunning deceit sought of us the destruction as well of Mordecai, who saved our life and continually procured our good, as also of blameless Esther, partaker of our kingdom, with their whole nation.
Right, and mind you, again, her name wasn't Esther, her name was Hadassah. All right, which means myrtle tree. All right, Esther was a pagan name. All right.
Verse 14 of Esther chapter 16. It says, for by these means...
I think Esther means Ishtar, like Easter. All right, it's like star. Yep.
Verse 14, it says, for by these means he thought, finding us destitute of friends, to have translated the kingdom of the Persians to the Macedonians. But we find that the Jews, who the wicked wretch have delivered to utter destruction, are no evildoers, but live by most just laws.
Right, man. All right, so he was trying to. That's why the scripture called him the accuser of the brethren. You know, lying, calling the pot calling the kettle black.
Mm-hmm.
He the criminal calling us the criminal. You see that? All right. And they always wanted to give the Macedonians always wanted to snatch the kingdom from them Persians, and that's what they finally did with Alexander. All right, in 330 BC, they snatched the kingdom from the Persians, from Darius III. Come on, brother.
Verse 17, Esther chapter 16. It says, wherefore ye shall do well not to put in execution the letters sent unto you by Ammon, the son of Amadatha. For he that was the worker of these things is hanged at the gates of Susa with all his family.
Right, so he was hung. And the Lord had him and hung in the gallows. All right. So he got hung, man. Let's get that real quick. Wow. Let's get Esther chapter. Yeah, let's get Esther chapter 7 and 9.
God. This is the book of Esther, chapter 7, verse 9.
Right, because he made gallows for us to hang on. He was getting prepared. He had everything ready. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna hang these motherfuckers. I'm gonna hang them. You know, what's that game called? Hangman? That's the story of Esau. All right?
That's who was eating.
Yep. They wanted to hang us and destroy our people. And he was happy about it. You know? So he built gallows and everything in his house. He built them in his house. So I'm hanging right here in my crib.
Don't put an Israelite over here,
Yeah.
put him over there.
That's what they do with the animal head. Yeah.
Oh, damn.
So they were gonna hang us in the house. But then next thing you know, I'm gonna get to the basic story real quick. Esther, she was praying to the Lord. Next thing you know, she set up a banquet. She said, hey, King Xerxes, can you throw a banquet where it's me, you, and Amon? Can you throw a banquet where it's just us three and we sit down and talk? And he was like, yeah, I guess so. And the next thing you know, he set it up and she told him everything that he was about to do. And she admitted that she was an Israelite. He said, yeah, he was gonna kill my people. And then next thing you know, Xerxes got up and walked out. He stormed out. And then Amon was like, where he going? Why he leave out? And then when he came back, he said, yo, hang Amon. Damn. Hang him on them saying. Matter of fact, he said, kill Haman. But then somebody jumped out there and said, hey, you know he got gallows in his crib. For the Israel. Damn. You're gonna read it? And they was like, what? Yeah, hang him on those. And him and his family hung on those same gallows that he set us. Right? So everything that Esau has set up for us is gonna fall on them.
That's what I say he did.
That's right, man.
Go ahead. Chapter 26 and verse 27. Whoso diggeth the pit shall fall therein, and he that rolleth the stone, it will return upon him.
That's right, man.
And that's playing upon tables, man.
Precept.
This is Psalms chapter 7, verse 15. He made a pit and digged it, and is fallen into the ditch which he made. His mischief shall return upon his own head, and his violent dealings shall come down upon his own plate.
That's exactly what happened to his ass. Like, to the T. Like 100. He hanging gallows in his house to persecute our people. Hey, he digged the pit and he fell therein. He that digged the pit. Like, bro, like both of the precepts like fit to the T. Like that just shows the power of your how by shooting y'all shot, man.
Right. Right. Hey, somebody get Esther chapter 6. I need to bounce around real quick. Just make points, yeah. That's Esther chapter 6 in regular Esther.
Okay, what verse?
Yeah, we still on that Esther one.
What verse?
6 and 1.
Go ahead.
You got it.
No, you got it.
All right, come. This is the book of Esther, chapter 6, verse 1. On that night, Salaki, could not the king sleep, and he commanded to bring the book of records of the chronicles, and they were read with the king. And it was found written that Mordecai had told of and Teresh to the king's chamberlains, the keepers of the door, who sought the land, to lay hand on the king Asawayas.
Right. So they remember. Mordecai remembered. Xerxes remembered Mordecai for looking out for him, for snitching on them two units that was setting up to kill Xerxes. All right. So they remembered Mordecai for that. Go ahead.
And the king said, what honor and dignity have been done to Mordecai for this?
Right. So they thought to kill Mordecai. Haman wanted to kill Mordecai, but then it came back to Xerxes' memory, like, yo, wasn't that the guy that's out there in the court screaming like a bum right now in sackcloth? That's what we do. We prophesy in sackcloth. He was crying out sackcloth. And he said, yo, hey, man, what do you think we should? Then next thing you know, walk in. Everything you got and give it to Mordecai.
Yeah.
Wow. He was like, whoa, what? Mordecai?
Hold on, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
So that's called what? Being confounded. All right. So that's what Esau is going to be confounded. You know. All right. Go ahead, brother.
Lazarus and the rich man.
Lazarus and the rich man. Yeah, that's right.
All right, back at
Go ahead.
back at the book of Esther, chapter 6, verse 3.
Right. It's going to say the same thing, but at least you got to understand it while you're reading it.
And the king said, "What honor and dignity have been done to Mordecai for this?" Then said the king's servants that ministered unto him, "There is nothing done for him." And the king said, "Who is in the court?" Now Haman was come into the outward court of the king's house to speak unto the king to hang Mordecai on the gallows.
He was showing up to get Mordecai hung. At the same time, Xerxes was talking about Mordecai and his blessing. That's the lot being cast in the judgment.
To hang Mordecai on the gallows that they had prepared for him. And the king's servant said unto him, "Behold, Haman standeth in the court." And the king said, "Let him come in." Verse 6. So Haman came in, and the king said unto him, "What shall be done unto the man whom the king delighteth to honor?" Now Haman thought in his heart, "To whom would the king delight to do honor more than to myself?"
That's what Esau thinking today. Wow. All right. They think when the Lord show up, he's going to bless them. No.
God. Verse 7. And Haman answered the king, "For the man whom the king delighteth to honor, let the royal apparel be brought, which the king useth to wear, and the horse that the king rideth upon, and the crown royal which is set upon his head."
This is everything he wanted. See, Esau wanted to be king. All right, go ahead.
"And let this apparel and horse be delivered to the hand of one of the king's most noble princes, that they may array the man withal, whom the king delighteth to honor, and bring him on horseback through the street of the city, and proclaim before him, this shall be done to the man whom the king delighteth to honor."
Yeah, he wanted to put him on. He wanted to get put on the horse and parade him through the city.
Well, he said all of them. Yeah, well, let me tell you something.
He said, "Yeah, with all."
God.
All right, go ahead.
Verse 10. Then the king said to Haman, "Make haste and take the apparel and the horse, as thou hast said, and do even so Mordecai the Jew."
Read that again.
Verse 10. Then the king said to Haman,
Right.
"Make haste and take the apparel and the horse, as thou hast said, and do even so Mordecai the Jew, that sitteth at the..."
You gotta read it again.
I gotta read it again.
Yeah, so too. You gotta say that part.
So too, okay. Then the king said to Haman, "Make haste and take apparel and the horse, as thou hast said, and do even so too Mordecai the Jew, that sitteth at the king's gate, that nothing fail of all that thou hast spoken."
Wow. Yeah. So all this stuff happened to Mordecai, you know. But now let's get to this story real quick. All right, this real quick. We should be done with it after this. Let's get Esther's about them gallows, right? What was we at? 7?
Yeah, 7 and 9.
Let's get we at 7 and 9 right now?
No, we have 6.
No, you told me.
6 and 10.
No, we have 6 and 10 right. We got 6.
We have 6?
We have 6 and 10 right now.
Okay, we're
the gallows is 7 and 9.
Yeah, go to 7 and 9. And Esther.
God, this is the book of Esther 7 and 9. And Habernah, one of the chamberlains, has said before the king, "Behold, also the gallows 50 cubits high, which Haman had made for Mordecai, who had spoken good for the king, standeth in the house of Haman." Then the king said, "Hang him thereon."
Oh, no. Go to verse 1. So like 7 and 1.
7 and 1?
Yeah,
All right, come on.
This is close up the point. Mind you, Esther threw a banquet for Xerxes and Haman to come to.
God.
And that was she was going to expose him there. And that's when they said, "Let's hang him." You know what I mean? Go ahead.
This is the book of Esther 7 and 1. So the king and Haman came to banquet with Esther and Esther the queen. And the king said again unto Esther on the second day at the banquet of wine, "What is thy petition, Queen Esther? And it shall be granted thee. And what is thy request? And it shall be performed."
Yep.
Even to the half of the kingdom.
Right, she was scared because she thought he was going to kill her. But the Lord, if you read it in Apocrypha, the Lord put a spirit on Xerxes to tell her to go ahead and come on in. You know, one minute he was looking at her like he about to kill her, and his spirit just changed. And he told her to come on in, and he listened to her. All right, she had passed out. And he was like, no, wake up. You know, go ahead, bro.
Verse 3. Then Esther the queen answered and said, if I have found favor in thy sight, O king, and if it please the king, let my life be given me at my petition, and my people at my request.
Right.
For we are sold, I and my people, to be destroyed, to be slain.
Right, so he's like, yo, what? You sold to be slain? You know, who did this? Go ahead.
And to perish. But if we had been sold for bondmen and bondwomen, I had held my tongue, although the enemy could not countervail the king's damage.
Right, he was setting them up to destroy him. But if he was setting them up for slavery, she wouldn't have said nothing. But she was this Edomite was setting them up to what? To kill us. You know, that's what Esau doing today. They're trying to destroy us, man. You know, they don't want to just put punishment on it. They want to kill us and destroy us as a nation.
Verse 5, then the king Asawayas answered and said unto Esther the queen, who is he and where is he that durst presume in his heart to do so? And Esther said, the adversary and enemy is
the adversary. What's the word?
Satan.
There you go. There you go. So who was he? Satan. And the enemy.
And he was an Edomite.
And he was an Edomite. There you go. Adversary. Go ahead.
Verse 6, and Esther said, the adversary and enemy is the wicked Haman.
He was wicked.
Wow.
I mean, he was what? What happened?
And one of them always spit the drink out.
Then Haman was afraid before the king and the queen. And the king arising from the banquet of wine, his wrath, went to the palace garden, and Haman stood up to make a request for his life to Esther the queen.
So he stood up trying to.
Whoa, wait.
There's a lot of people with that name. Hold on.
For he saw that there was evil determined against him by the king.
Yeah, go ahead.
Then the king returned out of the palace garden into the place of the banquet of wine, and Haman was fallen upon the bed whereon Esther was.
Right, so that's what the Lord doing this. That's why the scripture said, man's goings is of the Lord. Who can know their way? Because, mind you, you see how it works, man, how the Most High made it worse for him. When Xerxes walked out to the garden to think real quick and make his choice, this dude, this Edomite, Haman, was pleading to Esther. Please, just tell him, just don't, come on, man, you gotta take this back. Tell him I didn't do it. As he pleading to her, she on the bed, and he pleading to her like, please. Xerxes walked back in like, yo, you gotta pop my wife.
Damn!
Add on to the flames.
Damn! Double whammy!
Yo, go, bro.
Oh, you ain't had enough?
Yeah.
Oh, hold on, man. Hey, off with his head.
Off with his head. Go ahead, bro.
Then said the king, will he force the queen also before me in the house?
Yeah, right. So he was like, yo, you gonna force my woman too? What you doing, man? You about to rape him? Go ahead.
As the word went out of the king's mouth, they covered Haman's face.
Wow.
Hey, that's that head of state security. That's
That's right, man.
And Harbona,
That's not it. Yeah, that's not it. They were like, oh, wait, while he was getting dragged out and his face covered, he was getting waterboarded. Go ahead.
and Harbona, one of the chamberlains, said before the king, behold, also the gallows 50 cubits high, which Haman had made for Mordecai, who had spoken good for the king, standeth in the house of Haman.
Ooh, wow. So he had the same gallows still hung up in his house. And somebody was like, hey, you know he still got some gallows hung up in his house. It's like, this is
Perfect timing.
Oh, he got to get that, and he already got some in his house.
50 cubits.
15 feet high ones we use most.
Yeah, it'll get worse. Yeah, it'll get worse and worse for Esau, man. Go ahead.
He said, hang him thereon.
What? Go ahead.
Then the king said, hang him thereon.
That's right.
So they hang Haman on the gallows that he had prepared for Mordecai. Then was the king's wrath pacified.
That's right. So what's that? The blood can't be shed except for man's blood that shed it on the land.
Man can't be cleansed.
Land became cleansed.
That's in Exodus.
Right. Right. So the Lord's wrath is not going to be appeased until Esau lives out their judgment, until they get destroyed.
So they're being set up.
That's right, man.
Nice.
That's right. If we're going to get Esther Chapter 9, and that's going to be it, all right? That'll help you understand the festivities, the festival, yeah, Purim. So that's basically the story of Purim, you know, what it is. Purim. How the lot was cast for Israel instead of Esau. All right?
Did you want to bring out the bloodshed scripture?
Numbers 35.
Yeah, you can.
All right, this is Numbers 35 and 33. All right, so ye shall not pollute the land wherein you are, for blood it defileth the land, and that land cannot be cleansed of the blood that is shed therein, but by the blood of him that shed it.
There you go. So the Lord not going to be appeased until then. All right, until Esau's blood is shed as a nation. You know, it says, there you go. Romans 12 and 19. Dearly beloved, avenge not yourself, but rather give place unto wrath. For it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, saith the Lord. Yeah, so the Lord going to repay that vengeance. All right? And somebody grab Isaiah 14 and 1. Let's get that. Song of Solomon 2 and 9. Yep. So the Lord is for us, man. He's standing with us. And Yahweh is going to defend the tents of Israel.
Isaiah 14 and 1.
Go ahead, brother.
For Yahweh will have mercy on Jacob.
Well, he's going to have mercy on Jacob.
And will yet choose Israel.
There you go. So he's casting the lot right now. He's going to choose Israel.
And set them in their own land.
That's right. So he's going to set us in our own land. That's it on that. That's on that point. All right. No, go ahead.
And the strangers shall be joined with them.
Right. So that's basically talking about all Israel coming together.
And
we go out and teach, and then you're going to have brothers and sisters join into us. All right, go ahead.
And they shall cleave to the house of Jacob.
Right, we cleave, just like during the time of Paul, when people believed in Yahushua, meaning they cleaved to Paul by believing. Go ahead. That was it.
That's Solomon too.
You got some?
Songs of Solomon.
Go ahead.
All right, come on. This is the book of Songs of Solomon, 2 verse 9, and it reads.
Right, it's a parable.
Come on, it says, my beloved is like a roe or a young hart.
Right, what's a roe or a young hart? That means a fully grown male. All right, so Yahushua is perfect. That's what it's saying. So he's the first of us, and he's perfect. He's like a, what they call that? Something that appears and then gone. Yeah, like I said, unicorn is
once in a lifetime.
Fairy tale?
Once in a lifetime type of thing. You know what I mean? So he out in the open, and that's Yahushua. He's fully grown. He's a perfected version of us. All right, go ahead. So that's what it means to be a roe.
Behold, he is like a roe or a young hart. Behold, he standeth behind our wall.
Oh, he's standing behind our wall. See that? He's a Judite. He's standing with us. He's standing with Israel. He's not standing with Esau. All right, go ahead. So Yahushua is praying for us, for Yahweh to deliver us. So we got so much on our side right now, man. You know?
He looketh forth at the window, showing himself through the lattice.
Right, so what's that? That's the lion coming up out of the thicket. What's that? That's the Shemayim. All right, he's looking at us from the heavens. All right, but he's standing for us, man. He's standing for the children of Israel. You know, he's gonna raise up even the angel Michael in these last days to stand for us. All right, so let's get chapter 9, man. We ended.
This is the book of verse 1.
Yeah.
All right. right, this is the book of Esther, chapter 9, verse 1. Now in the 12th month, that is the month Adar, on the 13th day of the king's commandment and his decree drew near to be put in execution in the day that the enemies of the Jews hoped to have power over them, though it was turned to the contrary.
Right, so it was turned to the contrary. We gotta catch all these points.
Gone.
All right, where was that?
Verse 1.
All right, so on the day that the Jews' enemies hope to have power over us, man. So what are they about to do? They about to try to do that again.
Fill their belly.
That's right, try to fill their belly. The Lord gonna rain fire upon them. All right, and when they try to touch the elect, the Lord gonna lift up a standard. All right, what did he say against those? But the Lord made contrary happen. Go ahead.
Though it was turned to the contrary, that the Jews had rule over them that hated them.
There you go, man.
Verse 2, the Jews gathered themselves together in their cities throughout all the provinces of the king Asawayas to lay hand on such as sought their hurt, and no man could withstand them. For the fear of them fell upon all people.
Right, man. So at that time, we got raised up so high. After that the Xerxes gave a decree saying, "Hey, Israelites, anybody that come against y'all, you can take everything they got. You can even take them into slavery. If they come against you, I give you that freedom, that power." So that's what we're gonna do. Any nation that come against us, they're gonna be put to death in the kingdom. All right.
There's a law in North Korea. If you do something to break the law, not only do you go to jail, but 2 generations in front of you go to jail as well.
Yeah, what they call that with the gangs? Is that RICO?
RICO.
Yeah, RICO law. Esau can get hit with the RICO law.
On the ass.
Yeah, man.
all your Philistines. Take to jail.
Yeah, exactly.
Isaiah 14:11. Man.
Yeah.
Slaughter for his children.
For his children.
For his
Right,
children.
man. Yeah, but the Lord's preparing the gallows for them. All right, let's skip over, man. Get to the point. Let's go to we know about Mordecai getting exalted and Israel getting lifted up. Let's go to verse 26.
All right, Esther 9 and 26. Wherefore they called.
Oh no, 24.
All right, 24.
Yeah, my bad.
Because Haman, the son of Hammedatha the Agagite, the enemy of all Jews, had devised against Jews to destroy them, and had cast Pur, that is the lot, to consume.
Oh, can you start from 21?
Gone.
All right, that's it.
Esther 9 and 21, to establish this among them, that they should keep the 14th day of the month Adar, and the 15th day of the same yearly.
Right, so that's what we're doing. All right, the 14th day would have been the 14th of this month. All right, it just so happened that it landed. I think the new moon landed on the 31st of January. So the 14th day would have been like the 14th of this month. All right, so all right, but we keeping it on the weekend, Saturday, because we teach it. All right, go ahead.
Verse 22, as the days wherein the Jews rested from their enemies, and the month which was turned unto them from sorrow to joy.
Oh, yeah,
Morning, Shalakia. And from morning into a good day, that they should make them days of feasting and joy, and of sending portions one to another, and gifts to the poor.
Right, so we'll give gifts to each other. You give gifts to the poor of your nation or of your camp. So if you throughout the next couple of days or the day or whatever, if you're in the spirit of giving, hey, you might want to give to a Jake. You might want to give him a meal. Just what I mean. Usually we give from our food that we made. But if we carry it out of here, it probably go bad after a while. We're gonna go find somebody tonight. It's probably good though. You know what I mean? But we ain't gotta be overly righteous. All right, go ahead, brother.
God, verse 23. And the Jews undertook to do as they had begun, and as Mordecai had written unto them, because Haman, the son of Hammedatha the Agagite, the enemy of all the Jews, had devised against the Jews to destroy them, and to cast Pur, that is the lot, to consume them and to destroy them.
Right, but the Lord said there was 2 lots cast. All right, go ahead.
20. But when Esther came before the king, he commanded by letters that his wicked device, which he devised against the Jews, should return unto his own head, and that he and his sons should be hanged on the gallows.
Can we get that, please? Isaiah. What you just said?
Isaiah 14.
God, yeah, let's get that. That's right, man. Yep. Esau and his descendants.
It's Isaiah chapter 14 and verse 21.
Yep.
Prepare slaughter for his children for the iniquity of their fathers, that they do not rise nor possess the land, nor fill the face of the world with cities.
There you go, man. All right. Prepare slaughter for his children. Who are that? The descendants of Esau. These Rothschilds today. All right. Somebody get Revelation 2 and 27. And 2 and 26 to 27.
This is Revelation chapter 2.
Right, because Esau gonna get hung on the gallows, man. We hung on trees. Yahweh hung on the tree, right? The scriptures say that he got hung on the tree. Go ahead.
This is Revelation chapter 2, verse 26. It says, and he that overcometh and keepeth my words unto the end, to him will I give power over the nations. And he shall rule them with the rod of iron, and the vessels of a potter shall they be broken to shivers, even as I received of my father.
There you go. So even as Yahweh received, he was broken to shivers. So Esau gonna be broken to shivers. And everything that Yahweh received, what did Yahweh receive? He got hung on a tree, but it was like a cross. But same thing gonna happen to Esau. They're gonna be on the gallows. All right. Go ahead, brother.
This is Obadiah, verse 10. For thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off by slaughter, and thou shalt be cut off forever. So for Esau's violence against his brother, our people,
That's right.
shame is going to cover him. As you know, shame has covered Esau. All kind of manner of things have come out about him, and he's shamed, taking slavery out of the history books and so forth and so forth. But he's going to be cut off forever.
Yeah, they're gonna realize that they're the devil. Like the Bible speaks of, just like Haman did. He was trying to plead for his life. It's gonna be too late. All right. Go ahead, brother.
All right, back at Esther 9.
Yeah.
All right, come on, Esther 9 and 26. Wherefore they call these days Purim, after the name of Pur. Therefore, for all the words of this letter, and of that which they have seen concerning this matter, and which had come unto them. Verse 27, the Jews ordained and took upon them and upon their seed and upon all such as joyed themselves unto them.
Right.
So as it is not failed that they would keep these 2 days according to their writing and according to the appointed time, every year.
Right, so we keeping that. Where you at?
Verse 27.
Verse 27. All right, come on. Somebody get Psalms 126 and 1. All the way to 2. Right, man.
All right, this is the book of Psalms, chapter 126.
Right, just like Haman. Yeah, this is what Esau gonna say.
Psalms 126 and verse 1. When the Lord turned again the captivity of Zion, we were like them that dream.
Right, so the elect gonna be like it's a dream. Just like Mordecai and them. It was like a dream to them. They're rejoicing. Couldn't believe that it was happening, man. All right. The Lord turned back their captivity before their eyes. Just like he's doing to us. Go ahead, brother.
Then was our mouth filled with laughter and our tongue with singing. Then said they among the heathen, the Lord have done great things for them.
So that's what Esau gonna do. They're gonna say, in that Smeagol voice.
Yeah.
The Lord has done great things for them. That's right, man. So he said, our tongue was filled with laughter. What's that? Being in the chariots. The elect are gonna get taken up into the chariots and gonna be like a dream. Same way Peter was in prison, just like we're in this prison planet. Peter was in bondage under the Romans, and the angel came to deliver them, and he thought it was a dream until he was outside of prison. The elect gonna think it's a dream in the chariot, even though we're talking about it. It can happen today, and we just be looking at each other like, oh, and our tongue gonna be filled with laughter and joy. You know, but it's gonna be a new tongue.
Come
on, brother. Keep that fire, man. Let's get it. Where we at?
You still want that Esther 9?
Yeah.
All right, come.
We gotta finish this one out.
Come. This is the book of Esther, chapter 9, verse 28. And that these days should be remembered and kept throughout every generation.
So we're keeping it today. Best we can. Rehearse. Somebody get that rehearse the righteous acts. Go ahead, brother.
Every family, every province, every city, and that these days of Purim should not fail from among the Jews, nor the memorial of them perish their seed.
Right, but scriptures say that in 70 AD there was a falling away. We fell away, and we discontinued from our heritage as well. All right. So now, what do we do? Somebody got that?
James 5:11. Judges 5:11.
Yep.
This is Judges 5:11. It says, "They that are delivered from the noise of archers in the place of drawing water, there shall they rehearse the righteous acts of the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, even the righteous act toward the inhabitants of his villages in Israel. Then shall the people of the Lord go down to the gates."
Right. So you're gonna rehearse the righteous acts, and you're gonna rehearse the laws towards each other. All right. So you're gonna keep the laws to the best of your ability, man. You know, and the holy days to the best of your ability. Okay? All right, so go ahead, brother. So Purim is one of those holy days. And then you got the Passover coming up next month. Go ahead.
Esther 9:29. Then Esther the queen, the daughter of Abigail, and Mordecai the Jew wrote with all the authority to confirm the second letter of Purim. And he sent the letters unto all the Jews to the 127 provinces of the kingdom of Asawayas with words of peace and truth to confirm these days of Purim in their times appointed, according as Mordecai the Jew and Esther the queen had enjoyed them, and as they had decreed for themselves and for their seed the matters of fasting and their cry. And the decree of Esther confirmed these matters of Purim, and it was written in the book.
Right, man. Right, so that's right. We get verse 7, chapter 2.
7, chapter 2.
Yeah, just want to read that one verse to get her name.
This is Esther chapter 7, verse 2.
No, chapter 2, verse 7.
Oh,
yep.
All right, this is Esther chapter 2, verse 7.
Right, Job 5:12. Go ahead.
It says, "And he brought up Hadassah." That is Esther.
Oh, so there you go. So Hadassah, that's her name, all right? Yeah, that's it. So Hadassah is Esther.
What does that mean again?
Hadassah means murder, like a murder tree. All right. And Esther just means Ishtar, like star. Yeah. So that was the pagan name given to it, just like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Their real names was
Azariah,
Meshach.
God, there you go. All right. Oh, what was it?
This is the book of Job, chapter 5. You said verse 2?
Yeah, you just read. My bad. Yeah, come on. Go ahead, brother.
Job 5:2.
You gonna let them get it?
Okay.
Yeah, let them get some work. Nice and loud, brother.
This is Job 5, verse 12.
Yep.
He disappointed the devices of the crafty so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise.
Right, so that's it, man. So this is more proof of that. So you got to trust in these words in these days, man. What are we being presented with today, tomorrow? Esau, man, what are they doing? They're bringing drama. They're pushing P, right? that pressure. You know what I mean? So that's what they're doing. All right. So let's go ahead. Let's get 1 Samuel 2 and 8. 2 Corinthians 12 and 9. 1 Samuel 2 and 8. I think we're at 1 Samuel 2 and 8.
The book of 1 Samuel, chapter 2 and verse 8. He raises up the poor out of the dust.
Oh, this is an important message of Purim. There you go. Go ahead, brother.
He raises up the poor out of the dust.
Right.
And lifted up the beggar from the dunghill.
Right. So he lifts us up. He lifts us up out of poverty in this low condition that we're in, and being blind from the truth about the Lord and ourselves. All right. So he lifts us up out of that, out of confusion. Go ahead.
To set them among princes and to make them inherit the throne of glory.
So that, see that? So the Lord can raise us up out of the dunghill, man. All right, from the shit pile that we're in. You know, same way He raised up Mordecai, and He used Esther to do it. You know, but it really is about the Most High casting that lot and turning the tables, pushing what's his name? Haman, the course that the Lord wanted him to go. So everything Esau is doing right now is because of the Lord. When the Romans came to grab Yahushua, he said, I know you wouldn't be here unless it was because my father sent you. That's it.
And what did He tell Moses? He said, I'm going to sing to the Pharaoh, but I'm going to harden his heart.
There you go. Yeah, He controlling everything. All right? Why? So He can show His power on the Pharaoh.
Come.
And we be the witnesses.
Come.
Once again. All right, look at the last scripture, man. 2 Corinthians 12 and 9. Any other precept that want to bring up?
2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 9, it said, He said unto me, my grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in weakness.
There you go. All right, so that's when we see the Lord's strength, man. In this weak condition that we're in, the Lord said, what? I will help thee, thou worm Jacob. You know? And that's what we got to hang on to, His words, man. That's why Scripture says His words should be a light to our path. And that's our strength, you know. And He said His strength is made perfect in weakness, man. All right, so anybody got any more precepts?
No, I won't finish this one.
Go ahead.
Most gladly, therefore, will I rather glory in my infirmities, that the power of Yahushua HaMashiach may rest upon me.
There you go, man. All right. So we got to have faith that the Lord is about to lift us up. You know, Psalms 91, the last verse, the last three verses. Right, man.
Starting at 14.
I think so. Yeah. Go ahead, read it.
This is Psalms 91, verse 14. Because He have set His love upon me.
Verse 13.
Oh, okay.
Yep. You right on that. Yeah, I nailed it. Then. Good.
This is Psalms 91, verse 13. Thou shalt tread upon the lion and adder, the young lion and the dragon shalt thou trample under feet.
Yep. Esau from the rudimentary to the old, young, rich, and poor. You know, on land, off the land. Go ahead.
Because He have set His love upon me, therefore will I deliver him. I will set him high. I will set him on high, because He have known my name.
There you go, man. So the Lord is going to set you on high because you know the Lord's name and you believe in Him. All right? And you got to continue to believe in Him to the end, all the way to the point of mourning and crying and weeping for our people, man. For us to be delivered, and the Lord hears. All right? You got one?
Yes.
Go ahead,
Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 8. Be not afraid of their face, for I am with thee to deliver thee, said Yahweh.
Wow, man. And this Purim should be a perfect example of that. All right? This Purim celebration or edification and feast that we're eating this word. The Lord said, devour the whole word. That's why. Because without, I always say, blessed is he that readeth. Because without reading, you won't know this. You know, that's why we got to read. So we had that faith in that day. We'll know the stories. We'll know how the Lord delivered us out of trouble before. And He can damn sure deliver us out of this trouble today. That's around the whole earth. Temptation coming to the whole world. But the Lord said, but with that temptation, He'll make a way to escape.
How else would we know at famine and destruction we supposed to laugh at?
That's right, man. We wouldn't know that. That's right. Except for His word. All right, so we're going to end it there. Any more precepts? No, you're good. All right, so with that, we're going to end it. And hopefully you were edified and encouraged. And that's our goal. And with that, we're going to give praise to the Most High and His Son, man. And we're going to wrap this one up. I want to say, Ka, Allah, La, Yahweh, Hashem, Hashem, Qadash, Ma. All right, double honor to the elder apostles, the GMS, and the elders. And shalom to you, Akim, and our brothers and children out there that believe in sincerity and truth around the four corners of the earth. And, shalom and barakatah for warriors.
Shalom.
And so, in other words, the Edomites, they got the memo.
Yeah,